What makes a person valuable? Ask a philosopher. They'll say consciousness, morality, the capacity for love. Ask a pack of wolf shifters. They'll point to claws, fangs, the ability to hunt under a full moon. And when you're the only one in 12 generations who can't shift, you learn which answer actually matters. Worth isn't philosophical. It's practical, measurable. And mine was calculated the day I turned 18 and remained human. My name is Mary Stone. And I am that joke. 19 years old. Wolfless. Omega-born. The only shifter in 12 generations of my bloodline who cannot shift. In a world where your wolf defines your rank, your prospects, your very right to exist in pack society, I am an anomaly. A genetic dead end. A cautionary tale mothers tell their daughters. Be grateful for your wolf, or you'll end up like the stone girl. My father never forgave me for what I cost our family. How could he? I destroyed everything the day my 18th birthday came and went without a first shift. Our place in pack hierarchy, revoked. His position as a merchant, demoted to laborer. My younger sister Iris's engagement to a beta's son, dissolved. So, when the lunar trials were announced, my father saw his opportunity. You'll volunteer, he told me. The council needs omegas for the trial demonstrations. Demonstrations. A polite word for humiliation. Every 5 years, the 4 regional alphas gather to showcase their strength, and part of that involves testing omegas in front of thousands. It's entertainment for the upper ranks. A nightmare for people like me. I can't shift, I reminded him quietly. Exactly. His eyes met mine, cold and pragmatic. They need a control subject. Someone to show what happens when bloodlines weaken. You'll be compensated. We'll be compensated. There it was. My humiliation had a price tag, and my father was ready to sell. That was 3 days ago. Now I stand in the center of the grand arena, surrounded by 9 other omegas who have already shifted into their wolf forms. 10,000 pack members fill the seats above us, and I remain stubbornly, impossibly human. The crowd's laughter builds like a wave. It seems we have a malfunction, the announcer says, barely concealing his amusement. Girl, you were instructed to shift. I can't, I say, but my voice is small in this massive space. She's broken. Someone shouts from the crowd. Why is she even here? The beta handler approaches with her tablet, makes a show of consulting it. My apologies, Council. It appears this subject is wolfless. She was included for comparison purposes. More laughter. Someone throws a cup that splashes liquid near my feet. I lift my chin. If I'm going to be a joke, I'll at least be a dignified one. That's when I feel it. Not in my chest where a wolf should be. Not in my bones or blood. I feel it in the space between heartbeats, in the pause before breath. A presence that's always been there, but I've never had words for. Not a wolf, something else entirely. The laughter begins to fade. Not because the crowd has grown bored, but because something is changing. On the elevated platform, 3 alphas lean forward in their seats. The 4th, the one from the Western Highlands who sits in shadow, stands. My skin prickles, the air thickens, and that presence inside me rises to the surface for the first time in my life. Shift. The announcer commands again, but his voice wavers. I told you. I whisper. And somehow my voice carries across the entire arena. I can't shift. My eyes find the shadowed alpha across the distance, because I'm not a wolf. And then I show them what I am. Chapter 1. The Broken Omega. The transformation doesn't feel like the stories describe. There's no pain, no cracking of bones or tearing of flesh. Instead, it's like falling backward into water, a surrender to something that was always there, waiting beneath the surface of my skin. Light erupts from my body, not the silver white of wolf shifters, not the golden glow of the old bloodlines. This light is prismatic, fractured into 1,000 colors that shouldn't exist together but somehow do. It pours from my fingertips, my eyes, the crown of my head. The arena floods with it, so bright that the crowd raises hands to shield their faces. I don't become a wolf. I become something the world has forgotten existed. My body lifts off the ground, not flying, but suspended in the luminescence like an insect trapped in amber. My human form remains, but it's overlaid now with something vast and terrible and beautiful. Wings unfold from my shoulder blades, not feathered or leathered but constructed of pure light. Each feather, a different wavelength of color. My hair floats around my face as if I'm underwater. My eyes, I can't see them, but I feel them change, burning with the same prismatic fire. The 9 wolves that were standing around me have scattered to the edges of the arena, tails tucked, heads low in submission, not fear, something deeper, instinctual recognition. The crowd has gone completely silent. On the platform, Alpha Thornfield has risen from his seat, his face slack with shock. Alpha Cross has a hand pressed to her mouth. Alpha Hale looks like he's seeing a ghost, but the Western Highland Alpha, he hasn't moved. He's still standing exactly as he was, and now that my transformed vision can pierce the shadows that surround him, I can finally see his face. Sharp features, dark hair that falls across his forehead, eyes that aren't quite one color, they shift between gray and silver, and something darker, like storm clouds before lightning. He's younger than I expected, maybe late 20s, and strikingly beautiful in a way that makes my chest tighten. He's also the only person in this entire arena who doesn't look surprised. He looks vindicated. Impossible. Alpha Cross breathes, and the magical amplification carries her word across the space. The celestial bloodline died out 400 years ago. Apparently not, Thornfield growls. Someone explained to me, Hale says slowly, dangerously, how a wolfless omega from a nothing family is manifesting as a celestial. The Western Alpha finally speaks. His voice is deep, quiet, but it cuts through everything else. Because she's not wolfless. She never was. You were all just looking for the wrong thing. He begins descending from the platform. The crowd parts for him instinctively, pressing back against the arena walls. He moves like water, like shadow, like something that exists between states of being. As he gets closer, I realize he's taller than he appeared from a distance well over 6 feet, with broad shoulders and a predator's grace. He stops 10 feet away from where I'm hovering. This close, I can see the details the shadow was hiding, the sharp line of his jaw, the small scar above his left eyebrow, the way his hands hang loose at his sides in a deceptive casualness that suggests he could strike faster than thought. "Come down," he says to me. Not a command, an invitation. I don't know how. I rose without conscious thought, carried by instinct and something larger than myself. But at his words, I feel the light begin to recede. My feet touch the ground. The wings fold and dissolve. The prismatic glow dims until I'm standing on solid earth again, human-shaped and trembling. The arena stays silent for 3 more heartbeats. Then, chaos erupts. "Seize her!" Hale shouts, rising from his seat. "This is a bloodline violation. Celestials are restricted class. She should have been registered at birth. She didn't know what she was," the Western Alpha says, without looking away from me. "Did you?" I shake my head. My voice has abandoned me entirely. "It doesn't matter," Cross interjects. "She's descended from the platform now too, approaching from a different angle. Celestial manifestation falls under council jurisdiction. She needs to be taken into custody for evaluation." "Evaluation?" Thornfield spits. "You mean dissection?" "Study. You want to know if her bloodline can be bred back into the population. And what do you want, Kane?" Cross turns her sharp gaze on the Western Alpha. "And I finally have a name for him. Kane. It fits old, biblical, marked by violence. Why do you look like you knew exactly what she was?" "Alpha Kane. Because I understand now that's who he is." The mysterious Western Highland ruler tilts his head slightly. "I didn't know. I suspected. There have been signs. Anomalies in the lower ranks that didn't fit wolf genetics. I've been tracking them. Tracking them." Hale's voice drips with disdain. "And you didn't think to inform the council?" "The council," Kane says softly, "has a history of destroying what it doesn't understand. I wasn't going to hand over potential celestials for your research programs." The 3 other alphas exchange looks. There's a history here I don't understand. Layers of politics and old grudges that I'm caught in the middle of. "This isn't your decision to make," Cross says. "The accords are clear. Restricted bloodlines fall under joint council authority." "Then let's vote." Kane's voice remains calm, but I sense the steel underneath. 4 alphas. 4 votes. Majority rules. I vote she comes with me to the Western Highlands, where she'll be protected and trained. You mean controlled? Hale counters. You want a celestial under your power? I vote she goes to the Central Research Facility, where she can be properly evaluated. I vote she remains here in the Eastern Territory, Cross says. Neutral ground. We can study her without one alpha gaining advantage. All eyes turn to Thornfield. He's been quiet, studying me with an intensity that makes my skin prickle. Finally, he speaks. I vote she chooses. The arena erupts again. That's not protocol. Hale roars. She's an Omega. She's a Celestial. Thornfield cuts him off. Which means she outranks every wolf in this arena, including us. Historically, Celestials were advisors to alphas, not subjects. If her bloodline is genuine, she has autonomy. Kane's lips quirk in what might be a smile. Interesting interpretation of the old laws, Thornfield. It's the correct interpretation. Thornfield turns his full attention to me for the first time. His eyes are wolf gold, ancient and assessing. Girl, Mary Stone, according to the roster, do you understand what just happened to you? I find my voice. It comes out stronger than I expected. No, you manifested a bloodline that was thought extinct. Celestials were the original shifters, not wolves, but something older. Something that could take multiple forms, manipulate light, move between realms. They were powerful enough that the wolf bloodlines nearly wiped them out 4 centuries ago out of fear. That's revisionist history, Cross snaps. That's the truth, Thornfield snaps back. And now we have a living celestial standing in front of us. The question is, what do we do about it? I say we let her decide her own fate. And I say, a new voice cuts through the argument, that my daughter comes home with me. My father has somehow made his way onto the arena floor. He's flanked by 2 pack guards, and he's wearing his best clothes, the ones he saves for merchant negotiations. His face is flushed with excitement, with the scent of opportunity. Your daughter? Kane's attention swivels to my father like a blade finding a target. Yes, Mary is my responsibility until she's claimed by a mate or enters pack service. As her father, I have the right to. You have no rights here. Kane's voice drops to a register that makes my bones vibrate. You brought your daughter to this arena to be humiliated for profit. You sold her to the council as a cautionary tale. Whatever paternal authority you think you have ended the moment you accepted payment for her degradation. My father's face pales. Now see here, Alpha, I was simply quiet. The single word from Kane carries enough power that my father's mouth snaps shut involuntarily. Mary Stone, you have 3 choices. Come with me to the Western Highlands, where I can protect you and teach you to control your abilities. Go with Cross to the Eastern Territory for study. Or go with Hale to the Central Facility to be picked apart by researchers. Choose quickly. This crowd won't stay docile much longer. He's right. I can feel the energy shifting in the arena. The initial shock is wearing off. People are starting to mutter, to move, to realize they're in the presence of something that upends their entire understanding of the world. Fear is beginning to replace awe, and fear makes people dangerous. She needs time to consider, Cross argues. She needs safety, Kane counters, and she needs it now. I look at the 3 alphas who are arguing over me like I'm a prize to be won. Then I look at Kane, who's standing slightly apart, waiting. His eyes meet mine, and I see something there I don't expect. Understanding. He knows what it's like to be different, to be feared, to have everyone want to control you. I'll go with Alpha Kane, I hear myself say. Mary. My father finds his voice again. You can't just. I can. I turn to face him fully for the first time since my transformation. You sold me, Father. You made me a spectacle. You don't get to pretend you care now that I'm valuable. His face flushes red, but whether from shame or anger, I can't tell. Hale rises from his seat. This is irregular. I'm calling for a formal council review. Call for whatever you want, Kane says. He's moved closer to me now, close enough that I can feel the heat radiating from his body. But she's leaving with me, now. unless you want to challenge me for her. The air crackles with tension. For a moment, I think Hale might actually do it. Might shift and attack, and turn this political standoff into actual violence. But Cross puts a hand on his arm. Let it go, she says quietly. For now, we'll reconvene under proper protocol. This isn't over, Hale promises. No, Kane agrees. It's not. He turns to me, and his expression softens fractionally. Can you walk? I nod, though truthfully, I'm not sure. My legs feel like water, my entire body trembling with aftershocks from the transformation. Then walk with me. Don't look back. Don't acknowledge anyone. Just stay close. He begins moving toward the arena exit, and I follow. The crowd parts for us, but not silently. I hear the whispers, the speculation, the fear and fascination mixing into a toxic cocktail. Celestial. Thought they were all dead. She's going with the Western Alpha. What does he want with her? Iris appears in the crowd. My sister pushes through to the edge of the pathway, her face stricken. Mary, wait. Let her go. My father grabs her arm, pulling her back. She's made her choice. I meet Iris's eyes for just a moment. There's so much I want to say to her that I forgive her for not defending me, that I understand she was protecting herself, that I don't blame her for our father's choices. But Kane's warning rings in my ears. Don't acknowledge anyone. So I look away and keep walking. We exit the arena through a private tunnel reserved for the Alphas. The noise of the crowd fades behind us, replaced by the echo of our footsteps on stone. I realize I'm still wearing just the thin linen shift they dressed me in for the demonstration. My feet are bare. I must look ridiculous, a scared girl in her nightclothes following a powerful Alpha into the unknown. You're shaking, Kane observes. I just turned into something I didn't know existed. I manage. I think shaking is appropriate. He makes a sound that might be a laugh. Fair point. We emerge into daylight. There's a vehicle waiting, sleek and black, clearly expensive. A driver stands beside it, his expression carefully neutral when he sees me. The Fortress? Alpha? He asks. Yes. And Samuel. Kane fixes him with a meaningful look. No stops, no detours, no communications until we're behind the wards. Understood. Kane opens the back door and gestures for me to enter. I hesitate. This is the moment of no return. Once I get in this vehicle, I'm committed to this path. I'll be in the power of an Alpha I know nothing about except rumors and fear. But what's my alternative? Go back to my father, who sold me. Submit to Cross's studies or Hale's research. At least Kane offered me a choice. At least he looked at me like I was a person, not a problem to be solved. I get in the vehicle. Kane slides in beside me, maintaining a respectful distance. The door closes, and suddenly we're in a private bubble, separated from the outside world by tinted glass and the soft hum of the engine. We pull away from the arena. Through the window, I watch the massive structure recede. My old life, such as it was, is somewhere in there. My sister, my father, the pack that rejected me. You have questions, Kane says. I have about 1,000, but only one comes out. Did you really know what I was? Suspected, he corrects. There have been others. Not celestials, but bloodlines we thought were extinct showing up in unexpected places. The wolf shifter genetics are breaking down, regressing, or maybe evolving. I've been documenting cases for 3 years. Why? He's quiet for a moment, watching the landscape roll past. Because the council wants to believe we're the pinnacle of shifter evolution, that wolves are the strongest, the best, the rightful rulers. But the old texts tell a different story. They tell of celestials who could become anything wolves, yes, but also bears, eagles, serpents, who could manipulate elements, cross between realms, live for centuries. The wolves didn't inherit the earth because they were strongest. They inherited it because they were best at reproduction and warfare. And you think celestials are coming back? I think the universe corrects itself, he says. The wolves culled the celestials nearly to extinction 400 years ago. But you can't erase a bloodline completely. It goes dormant, hides, waits for the right conditions to resurface. His eyes meet mine. You're not an anomaly, Mary. You're a harbinger. The words send a chill down my spine. What if I don't want to be a harbinger? What if I just want to be normal? Then you shouldn't have transformed in front of 10,000 witnesses, he says. But there's no cruelty in it. Normal stopped being an option the moment you lit up that arena. Now you're a symbol. A threat. A prize. Every alpha in the Confederation will want to control you, study you, or eliminate you. Except you? I want to understand you, he says. There's a difference. We drive in silence for a while. The city gives way to countryside, then forest. The Western Highlands are appropriately named. The land rises steadily, the trees growing thicker and wilder. Eventually, we turn off the main road onto a private drive that winds up a mountain. Where are we going? I ask. My home, the Shadow Peak Fortress. It's warded against unwanted visitors and remote enough that the council can't easily access it. You'll be safe there while we figure out what you are and how to keep you alive. You make it sound like people want to kill me. He looks at me with something like pity. Mary, you're a 19-year-old girl who manifested a power that terrifies the ruling class. Yes, people want to kill you. They just need to decide if you're more useful, alive, or dead first. The fortress comes into view as we crest a ridge. It's built into the mountainside itself. Dark stone that seems to grow organically from the rock. Towers that pierce the clouds. Walls that look thick enough to withstand a siege. It's beautiful in a harsh, uncompromising way. It's also completely isolated. Welcome, Kane says as we approach the massive gates. To your new prison. Or sanctuary. Depending on how you choose to see it. The gates swing open. We drive through into a courtyard where several people are waiting servants, I assume, based on their postures and clothing. They all stop what they're doing to stare as I emerge from the vehicle. A celestial. In the Western Highlands. In the Alpha's personal fortress. I can see the fear in their eyes, mixed with fascination. Kane exits the vehicle and immediately begins issuing orders. Prepare the East Tower guest suite. Have a healer standing by, I want her checked for transformation shock. And someone find her proper clothing. She can't walk around in that. A woman steps forward, older, gray-haired, with the bearing of someone used to authority. Alpha, with respect, shouldn't she be placed in the lower quarters until we know if she's dangerous? Kane's expression doesn't change, but the temperature seems to drop. Mira, did I stutter? No, Alpha. Then why are you questioning my orders? The woman Mira drops her eyes. My apologies. The East Tower will be prepared. Good. He turns back to me. Mira is my head of household. She'll see to your needs. If you require anything, ask her. And you? I hear myself ask. Where will you be? Making calls, reinforcing the wards, convincing the council not to declare war over this. He pauses. And researching everything I can find about Celestials. We need to understand what you are before anyone else tries to define it for you. Then he's gone, striding into the fortress with the confidence of a man on his own territory. I'm left standing in the courtyard, surrounded by strangers who look at me like I'm a bomb that hasn't decided whether to explode. This way, miss, Mira says stiffly. I follow her into the fortress, through corridors of dark stone and flickering torchlight. We climb stairs, so many stairs, until we reach a tower room with windows that overlook the entire valley. The Alpha's orders are that you're a guest, not a prisoner, Mira says. But I'd advise you not to wander. The fortress has defenses. They don't always distinguish between intruder and resident. Noted. She leaves me alone. I walk to the window and look out at the view. Miles and miles of forest, mountain peaks in the distance, the setting sun painting everything gold and red. It's beautiful, remote, utterly cut off from everything I've ever known. I press my hand against the glass and watch the light refract through my fingers, still carrying that prismatic quality, even though I'm no longer transformed. What am I? And more importantly, what am I becoming? Chapter 2. The Beast in Beautiful Skin. The healer arrives an hour after Mira leaves me alone. She's younger than I expected, maybe 30, with kind eyes and hands that glow faintly silver when she touches my wrist to check my pulse. A wolf shifter, but a gentle one. Her name is Petra, and she doesn't look at me like I'm dangerous. Transformation shock is common with first shifts, she says, guiding me to sit on the enormous bed that dominates the room. Even more so when you didn't know what you were. Your body has been suppressing this for years. The release of that energy. She shakes her head. I'm surprised you're conscious. I feel fine. I lie. You feel numb, she corrects. There's a difference. The shock will hit later, probably tonight. You'll have nightmares, fever, possibly hallucinations, as your mind processes what happened. It's normal. Nothing about this is normal. She smiles slightly. Fair point. But for what it's worth, you're handling it better than most would. I've seen wolves who knew what to expect completely fall apart after their first shift. You transformed into something extinct in front of thousands of hostile witnesses, and you're still coherent. That takes strength. Her words settle something in my chest. Thank you. She finishes her examination, checking my eyes, my reflexes, the strange prismatic shimmer that still clings to my skin like oil on water. Finally, she sits back. Physically, you're healthy. Better than healthy, actually. Your cellular structure is. I don't have words for it. It's like your body is operating at a higher frequency than normal shifters. You'll probably heal faster, age slower, need less food and sleep. She pauses. You're also likely sterile. The word hits like a physical blow. What? Celestials and wolves couldn't interbreed. Petra explains gently. The old texts are clear on that. It's part of why the bloodlines died out. They couldn't replenish their numbers through normal reproduction. I'm sorry. I know that's not what you wanted to hear. But the strange thing is, I don't feel the devastation I expected. I've spent a year believing I was barren anyway. It was one of the marks of shame my father catalogued, one of the reasons I was worthless as a potential mate. Learning it's a feature of my bloodline, rather than a personal failure, almost feels like relief. It's fine, I say. I already knew I couldn't have children. Petra frowns. You knew how? I just did. The healers tested me last year. They said my reproductive system was non-functional. I look down at my hands. I thought it was another way I was broken. You're not broken, Petra says firmly. You're different. There's a distinction. She stands, gathering her supplies. The Alpha has requested I check on you daily for the first week. If you need anything before then, send for me. And Mary. She pauses at the door. Welcome to Shadow Peak. Not everyone here will be kind, but many of us are good at recognizing when someone is genuinely in danger. You were. The Alpha did the right thing, bringing you here. After she leaves, I explore the room properly. It's huge, easily 4 times the size of the bedroom I shared with Iris growing up. The bed is draped in dark furs. There's a sitting area with chairs positioned near a fireplace. A desk by the window with paper and ink already laid out. And through an arched doorway, a private bathroom with a tub large enough to swim in. On the bed, someone has laid out clothes. Soft leather pants, a tunic in deep green, undergarments, boots that look like they'll actually fit. Real clothes, not the servants' cast-offs I've worn for the past year. I strip out of the linen shift and dress slowly, marveling at the quality of the fabric, the way the clothes actually fit my frame. When I look in the mirror, I barely recognize myself. The girl staring back looks almost powerful, capable. Not the broken Omega who stood in that arena. A knock at the door interrupts my inspection. Come in, I call. Mira enters carrying a tray of food. Her expression is still wary, but less hostile than before. The Alpha thought you might be hungry. You missed the evening meal. The smell hits me: roasted meat, fresh bread, vegetables, and some kind of herb sauce. My stomach growls loudly enough that Mira's lips twitch. Thank you, I say. She sets the tray on the small table near the fireplace. The Alpha also requests your presence in his study after you've eaten. 3rd floor, West Wing. I'll have someone escort you. Is it a request or a command? With the Alpha, there's rarely a difference. She heads for the door, then pauses. He's not what the rumors say, you know. Cruel, yes. Ruthless, absolutely, but not without reason. He doesn't hurt people for pleasure. He hurts them when they threaten what he's trying to protect. And what is he trying to protect? That, Mira says. You'll have to ask him yourself. An hour later, A young man who introduces himself as Thomas leads me through the fortress's winding corridors. He's nervous, stumbling over his words, clearly uncomfortable being alone with a celestial. I try to make myself seem less threatening, but I'm not sure how. "Here," he says finally, stopping in front of an ornate wooden door. "Just knock. He's expecting you." I knock. Enter. Kane's study is exactly what I'd expect. Dark wood, floor-to-ceiling bookshelves, a massive desk covered in papers and maps. But what surprises me are the artifacts scattered throughout, ancient things. Some in glass cases, some just sitting on shelves like ordinary decorations. A chalice that glows faintly blue, a knife with a blade that seems to be made of frozen smoke. A small statue of a wolf that I swear moves when I'm not looking directly at it. Kane himself stands at the window, silhouetted against the night sky. He's changed out of his formal clothes into something simpler: dark pants, a loose shirt, his feet bare. It makes him seem more human, less alpha. But the power rolling off him is unchanged. "Sit," he says without turning around. I sit in one of the chairs facing his desk. "How do you feel?" he asks. Like my entire understanding of reality was shattered and reassembled in the space of an hour. "Accurate." He finally turns to face me. In the lamplight, his features are sharper than they appeared in the arena, all angles and shadows, beautiful in a dangerous way. "I've spent the last 3 hours on calls with the other alphas. Cross wants to invoke the ancient protocols and demand you be brought before the full council for evaluation. Hale is threatening to file a formal complaint about my interference in council business. Thornfield is backing me, but only because he knows the other two would dissect you given the chance. And you?" I meet his eyes. "What do you want from me?" Answers. He moves to his desk, picks up a book, ancient, the leather cracked with age. This is one of 3 surviving texts about celestials. It was written by a wolf scholar who witnessed the final purge 4 centuries ago. According to this, celestials weren't just shifters, they were mediators between realms. They could see things others couldn't, go places others couldn't reach. They served as advisors, diplomats, occasionally warriors. But always, they were bridges. Bridges to what? That's what I need you to help me understand. He sets the book down, leans against the desk. "Your transformation today, describe it. What did it feel like? What were you thinking?" I close my eyes, trying to remember. I felt angry, humiliated. But underneath that, there was something else. Like a door I didn't know existed suddenly opened. And through that door was light, color. Not heat, exactly, but energy. It wanted out. So I let it. "You let it," he repeats. "You made a conscious choice." "Yes." It didn't force itself out. It asked permission. He's quiet for a long moment, studying me with an intensity that makes my skin prickle. The old texts say celestials had to consent to their transformations. That, unlike wolves, who are driven by instinct and moon phases, celestials chose when and how to shift. That's what makes you so dangerous to the council. How? Because you can't be controlled through the usual methods. Wolves are bound by pack hierarchy, by alpha commands, by the moon's pull. But if you can choose whether or not to shift, choose what form to take. He shakes his head. You're autonomous in a way that terrifies people who rely on hierarchy to maintain power. I don't want to terrify anyone. I just want to understand what I am. Then we need to test your abilities, Kane says. In a controlled environment, away from the council's eyes. I have a training facility beneath the fortress. It's warded, soundproofed, designed for wolves learning control. But it should work for you too. When? Tomorrow. You need rest first. Petra says the shock will hit you tonight. I want you recovered before we start pushing boundaries. He straightens from the desk. But there's something else we need to discuss. The council will demand a formal hearing within the week. They'll want to determine if you're a threat, and if so, what to do about you. What happens at a formal hearing? They'll ask questions, test your abilities, try to determine your loyalties, and then they'll vote on whether you should be granted autonomy, placed under supervision, or, he doesn't finish the sentence, or eliminated. I finish for him. Yes. Fear threads through my chest, cold and sharp. Can they do that? Just decide I'm too dangerous to live? The council has broad authority over restricted bloodlines. And Celestials are the most restricted bloodline in our history. His expression darkens. But they won't touch you while you're under my protection. The Western Highlands are sovereign territory. They'd have to go through me first. Why are you doing this? The question bursts out before I can stop it. You don't know me. You don't owe me anything. Why risk conflict with the council? Cain is quiet for so long I think he won't answer. Then, because I know what it's like to be different. To have everyone look at you and see a weapon or a threat instead of a person. He meets my eyes, and there's something raw in his gaze. And because the council tried to control me once, they failed. I won't let them succeed with you. There's a story there, layers of history and pain I don't understand. But before I can ask, he continues, you should rest. Tomorrow will be challenging. He walks to the door, opens it. A dismissal. I stand, but pause before leaving. Alpha Cain. Just Cain, he interrupts. We're past formalities. Cain, thank you. For the choice. For bringing me here. I know it complicates your life. His expression softens fractionally. Life was already complicated. You're just a more interesting complication than most. Petra was right about the nightmares. They come in the deepest part of night, when the fortress is silent, except for the wind howling outside. I dream of transformation, but not the beautiful, controlled shift from the arena. This time I'm trapped between forms, my body stretching and breaking, light pouring from wounds that open and close without healing. I'm dissolving, becoming pure energy with no anchor to the physical world. And through it all, I hear voices. Thousands of them, speaking languages I don't know but somehow understand. Remember, wake up, find us. You are not the first. Weiss, you will not be the last. Remember what we were. Remember what they took. I wake screaming. The door to my room slams open. Cain is there, shirtless, eyes wild, moving with a speed that suggests he was already running before I made a sound. He scans the room for threats, finds none, then focuses on me. Nightmares, I gasp. Petra said, I know. He's breathing hard, adrenaline clearly still pumping. I heard you from 3 floors away. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. Don't apologize. He runs a hand through his hair, and I realize his hands are trembling slightly. The transformation shock. It manifests differently for everyone. For you, it's dreams. They weren't just dreams, I whisper. There were voices. Other Celestials. They were trying to tell me something. His attention sharpens. What did they say? I relay what I can remember. With each word, his expression grows more serious. The Celestials had a collective consciousness, he says finally. The texts mention it. The ability to communicate across distances, share knowledge, feel each other's deaths. If you're hearing voices, it means that consciousness isn't gone. It's dormant, waiting for enough Celestials to wake up to reactivate it. You're saying there are others like me? I'm saying there might be, or there will be. Your manifestation could be the catalyst that wakes dormant bloodlines across the Confederation. He sits on the edge of my bed, and the casualness of the gesture surprises me. This is bigger than we thought, Mary. You're not just a genetic anomaly, you're the first domino. I pull my knees to my chest, suddenly aware that I'm in thin sleeping clothes and he's half naked. But he doesn't seem to notice, or if he does, he doesn't care. There's nothing predatory in his gaze, only concern. I'm scared, I admit. Good. Fear will keep you careful. He stands. Try to sleep. I'll have someone sit outside your door in case the nightmares return. Wait. I don't know why I stop him. The voices, they said, remember what they took. What did the wolves take from the Celestials, besides their lives? Cain pauses in the doorway. Moonlight from the window cuts across his face, highlighting the sharp planes and shadows. Everything, he says quietly. Their history, their culture, their language, even their true name Celestial is what the wolves called them. No one remembers what they called themselves. That's genocide. Yes, he agrees. It is. He leaves me with that thought, closing the door softly behind him. I don't sleep for the rest of the night. I watch the sky lighten through my window, watch the sun rise over the mountains, and wonder what other memories are buried in my blood, waiting to resurface. By the time morning comes, I've made a decision. I will remember. I will find the others, and I will make sure what happened to the Celestials never happens again. Even if it means going to war with the very council that rules our world. Please don't forget to subscribe. Chapter 3. The Training and the Question. The training facility is not what I expected. Cain leads me down through the fortress in the early morning light, past the inhabited levels, past the storage rooms and kitchens, down stone stairs that grow progressively older and more worn. The air changes, becomes cooler, damper, charged with something that makes my skin tingle. The fortress was built on ancient ruins, Cain explains, as we descend. No one knows who constructed the original structure. But whoever they were, they understood magic in ways we've forgotten. The wards here are stronger than anything modern shifters can create. We reach a massive door carved with symbols I don't recognize. Cain places his palm against the wood, and the symbols flare with silver light. The door swings open silently. Beyond is a circular chamber easily 100 feet across. The walls are smooth black stone that seems to absorb light. The floor is marked with intricate patterns, circles within circles, symbols that hurt to look at directly. And in the center, a raised platform surrounded by what looks like empty air but feels like contained pressure. This is where young wolves learn to control their first shifts, Cain says. The wards prevent them from hurting themselves or others while they're still learning. They should work for you too, but we'll start slow. Define slow. Try to shift, just that. Don't worry about holding the form or controlling it. Just see if you can call on the light again. I walk to the center platform, acutely aware of Cain watching from the edge of the chamber. The pressure of his attention is almost physical. How do I start? I ask. However, feels natural. For wolves, it's usually emotion, anger, fear, joy. Strong feelings that crack through the human mask. But you said your transformation felt like permission. Like opening a door. So find that door. I close my eyes. Search inside myself for that presence I felt in the arena. The thing that isn't a wolf. That exists in the spaces between heartbeats. For long minutes. There's nothing. Just my own breathing. My own racing heart. The cold stone beneath my feet. Then I feel it. A shimmer at the edge of my consciousness. Not demanding, not forcing, just waiting. I reach for it the way you'd reach for someone's hand in the dark. The light responds immediately. It floods through me, not painful, but overwhelming. Colors I don't have names for cascade across my vision. My body lifts off the platform, suspended in prismatic brilliance. The wings unfold from my shoulder blades, each feather a different wavelength. I can feel the energy pouring off me in waves, bouncing off the chamber walls and returning transformed. Good. Cain's voice cuts through the roar of light. Now hold it. Don't let it consume you. You're not the light. You're the one controlling it. But he's wrong. I'm not controlling anything. I'm just allowing. The light isn't mine to command. We're in partnership. The energy and I, two halves of something that only works when both consent. Mary. His voice is sharper now. You need to come back. I don't know how. I call back. And my voice echoes strangely, layered with harmonics that don't come from a human throat. I hear him move. Feel him approaching the platform despite the wards that should keep him back. Then his hand closes around my ankle, the only part of me still close to the ground, and the contact is like an anchor dropping. The light stutters, flickers. Follow my voice, he says. Find your way back to your body. You're Mary Stone, 19 years old, from the Eastern Valleys. You like books and quiet places, and you've never properly shifted before today. Remember who you are. The words are a lifeline. I grab onto them, use them to pull myself back from the edge of dissolution. The light dims, the wings fold, my feet touch stone. I collapse immediately. Cain catches me before I hit the ground, his arms solid around my waist. For a moment we're frozen like that, my back against his chest, his breath warm on my neck, both of us trembling from the aftermath. That was 4 minutes, he says quietly. For a first attempt, that's remarkable. Most shifters can barely hold form for 30 seconds their first time. It didn't feel like holding. I manage. It felt like drowning. Like I could just let go and disappear into the light completely. His arms tighten fractionally. That's the danger. Celestials who lost themselves to the transformation never came back. They became pure energy, formless and eternal but no longer themselves. The old texts called it dissolution. It was considered both the ultimate transcendence and the ultimate death. You're saying I could just stop existing? I'm saying you need to learn control before we try this again. He helps me to a sitting position on the platform, then moves back to give me space. Your power isn't like wolf shifting. It's not instinctive. It requires constant conscious effort to maintain your identity while transformed. I look up at him. He's wearing training clothes today, dark, fitted, practical. His hair is tied back, revealing the sharp lines of his face. There's a tension in his shoulders I haven't seen before. You were afraid, I say. Yes. Why? The wards. The wards contain physical force. They do nothing against dissolution. If you'd let go completely, there would have been nothing left to bring back. His eyes meet mine, and there's something raw in them. I can't protect you from yourself, Mary. That's the one thing you have to do alone. The weight of that settles over me. I'm not just learning to control a new ability. I'm learning to not lose myself entirely. Every transformation is a risk. Every time I open that door, I might not come back through it. Maybe we should stop, I hear myself say. Maybe it's too dangerous. Maybe. Kane sits down on the platform beside me, close enough that our shoulders almost touch. But the council hearing is in 5 days. If you can't demonstrate control, they'll use that as justification to contain you indefinitely. Or worse, you need to be able to shift and hold form for at least 60 seconds in front of witnesses. 60 seconds of nearly dissolving. Great. We'll work up to it. Multiple sessions a day if necessary. I'll be here to anchor you every time. He glances at me. Unless you don't trust me to do that. I trust you, I say, and realize it's true. I shouldn't. I barely know him. He's an alpha with his own agenda, and I'm completely at his mercy here in this isolated fortress. But something in his eyes when he talks about control, about being different, about the council trying to contain him. I recognize that pain, that anger, that determination to survive despite everything trying to crush you. We're both broken in similar ways. Good, he says. Then let's try again. This time, I want you to shift and immediately come back. Just a flash, 10 seconds maximum. Think of it like dipping your toe in water instead of diving in. We work for 3 hours. Each transformation gets slightly easier, slightly more controlled. I learn to open the door without falling through it completely. Learn to count seconds while maintaining my identity. Learn the feeling of Kane's presence at the edge of my consciousness. A solid point I can orient toward when everything else becomes light and chaos. By the end, I can hold form for 23 seconds before the pull toward dissolution becomes too strong. That's progress, Kane says as we climb back up through the fortress. We'll train twice tomorrow, morning and evening. You should be able to hit 60 seconds by the day after tomorrow if this rate of improvement continues. And if it doesn't, then we'll figure something else out. He pauses at the landing that leads to my tower. Get some rest. Eat. Petra will check on you this afternoon. I need to make more calls. Thornfield wants to meet before the hearing, strategize on how to handle Cross and Hale. Kane. I stop him before he can leave. Why is Thornfield helping us? What's in it for him? Thornfield's territory borders the wild lands to the north. He deals with things the other alphas pretend don't exist. Rogue shifters, creatures that shouldn't be possible, anomalies in the natural order. He knows the wolf bloodlines are weakening. He wants to understand why before it's too late. Kane's expression darkens. Also, he hates Cross. They were engaged once, before he became alpha. She broke it off when she decided political power was more important than personal connection. He's never forgiven her. So his support is personal, not ideological. All politics are personal, Kane says. Remember that when we face the council. They'll dress everything up in protocol and tradition, but ultimately, They're just people with agendas and grudges and fears. Find the personal motivation and you find the marriage. He leaves me with that thought. The afternoon passes slowly. I eat, bathe, try to read one of the books someone left in my room. A romance about a human who falls in love with a shifter, which feels simultaneously on the nose and completely disconnected from my reality. The human in the story doesn't have to worry about dissolving into pure energy. Her biggest problem is whether the shifter will accept her despite her weakness. I throw the book across the room in frustration. Petra arrives as promised, checks my vitals, declares me remarkably stable considering the circumstances. She also brings news from the outside world. Your transformation is all anyone can talk about, she says, making notes on her tablet. The footage has spread across all 4 territories. Some packs are calling you a miracle. Others are demanding you be contained. There's even a fringe group claiming you're a sign of the apocalypse. Fantastic. Always wanted to be apocalyptic. She smiles. The council has officially scheduled your hearing for 4 days from now, noon, at the Central Hall. All 4 alphas will preside, with representatives from each major pack in attendance. It'll be. She searches for a word. Intense. Will I be safe? Physically? Yes. The Central Hall is neutral ground with ancient protections. No one can be harmed there without triggering the wards. But politically? She shakes her head. That depends on how well you perform and how badly the council wants to make an example. After she leaves, I stand at my window watching the sun set over the mountains. Somewhere out there, my father and sister are continuing their lives. Does Iris think of me? Does she worry? Or is she relieved that the embarrassing Wolfless sister is finally someone else's problem? A knock interrupts my brooding. Come in, I call, expecting a servant with dinner. It's Kane. He's changed into formal clothes, dark pants, a shirt that's actually buttoned, his hair loose around his face. He looks both more civilized and somehow more dangerous. I thought you'd want company for dinner, he says. Unless you prefer solitude. Company sounds nice, I admit. He gestures, and 2 servants enter carrying trays laden with food far more than I could eat alone. They set everything on the table near the fireplace, light the fire itself, and disappear with practiced efficiency. Kane sits, gestures for me to join him. I spent the afternoon reading more about celestials, found something interesting in one of the older texts. What? They had a tradition. Before any major decision or dangerous undertaking, celestials would share a meal with whoever they trusted most. It was called witnessing, the idea being that if something went wrong, someone would know their true intentions, their real self. And you're suggesting we witness each other? I'm suggesting that you're about to face one of the most dangerous moments of your life. The council could decide your fate in that hearing. I want you to know that whatever happens, I'll remember who you really are. Not the celestial, not the political problem. You, Mary. The sincerity in his voice makes my throat tight. I nod, not trusting myself to speak. We eat in comfortable silence for a while. The food is excellent. Roasted vegetables, tender meat, bread that's still warm. After the tension of training, the nightmares, the constant fear, this moment of peace feels stolen, precious. Can I ask you something? I say finally. Of course. Earlier you said the council tried to control you once. What did you mean? His expression closes slightly. That's a long story. We have time. He's quiet for so long I think he won't answer. Then, I wasn't born to be alpha. I was supposed to be beta, second in command to my older brother. But when I was 20, I started showing abilities that didn't fit normal wolf genetics. I could manipulate shadows, move through darkness instantaneously, see in wavelengths that shouldn't be visible. The council declared me a restricted bloodline. They wanted to study me, breed me, determine if my abilities could be replicated. What did you do? I challenged my brother for the alpha position, killed him in ritual combat, took control of the Western Highlands before the council could stop me. His eyes meet mine, and they're cold. As alpha, I have sovereignty. They can't touch me without declaring war. So they settled for containment, instead watching my borders, limiting my influence, making sure I don't become powerful enough to threaten their authority. You killed your own brother. I did. No shame in his voice, no regret. He would have handed me over. Would have let them turn me into a laboratory animal in the name of understanding. I chose survival over family. I'd make the same choice again. The casual brutality of it should horrify me. But I understand. When your existence is a threat, when people see you as a thing to be controlled rather than a person to be respected, you do what you must. Survival trumps morality. Does it get easier? I ask, living with being different, being feared? No, he says honestly. But you learn to build walls, to let only certain people close enough to see the real you, to accept that most will never understand, and that's their failure, not yours. Have you let anyone close? Besides Thornfield, I mean. His smile is bitter. I let someone close once. She was a beta from the Eastern Territory, intelligent, beautiful, ambitious. I thought she saw me for who I was, not what I could do. I was wrong. She was a spy for Cross, sent to gather information about my abilities. When I discovered the truth, I exiled her. She died trying to cross back into Eastern Territory through the Winter Mountains. I'm sorry. Don't be. I'm not. He drains his glass. That was 5 years ago. Since then, I've been careful about who I trust, who I let into my space. Yet you brought me here. Yes. Why? He looks at me, then really looks at me, like he's trying to see past skin and bone to something deeper. Because when I saw you standing in that arena, refusing to be ashamed of what you couldn't do, I recognized something. A kind of defiance that can't be taught. You weren't fighting to prove anything to them. You were just enduring, surviving. And then you transformed, and I realized you're like me, someone who slipped through the cracks of what we're supposed to be, and became something the world doesn't have a category for. The vulnerability in his words steals my breath. I'm not strong like you, I whisper. I don't know how to fight. I barely know how to exist like this. Strength isn't about fighting. It's about refusing to disappear just because people want you to. He reaches across the table, his hand hovering near mine but not quite touching. You survived being wolfless in a pack society for a year. You survived your father's betrayal. You survived that arena. You're stronger than you know, Mary. You just need to learn to see it in yourself. His hand finally closes over mine. His skin is warm, rough with calluses. The contact sends a shock through me, not sexual, though there's an edge of that. Something deeper, recognition, connection. The sense that I'm not entirely alone anymore. Thank you, I say. For dinner, for training, for all of it. You don't need to thank me. Yes, I do. We sit like that for a long moment, hands touching, the fire crackling beside us. Then Kane withdraws, stands. It's late. You should rest. We have more training tomorrow, and then Thornfield arrives the day after. He'll want to meet you, assess you himself before the hearing. Will he be friendly? Thornfield is never friendly, but he's fair, and he's brilliant at reading people. If anyone can help us strategize for the council, it's him. He moves toward the door, then pauses. Turns back. Mary. One more thing. Yes? At the council hearing, they'll ask you questions designed to trap you. They'll want you to admit you're dangerous, that you can't control yourself, that you're a threat to pack society. Whatever they ask, remember, you don't owe them explanations. You don't owe them demonstrations. You only owe them the truth of who you are. Nothing more. And who am I? His smile is small, but genuine. That's what we're going to figure out together. After he leaves, I sit by the fire for a long time, his words echoing in my mind. The question he didn't ask but that hung between us like a challenge. Will you marry me? No, that's not right. He didn't ask that. But something about the way he looked at me, the intimacy of sharing his story, the careful distance he maintains even while offering protection, it feels like a question waiting to be formed. A promise waiting to be made. I'm not ready to answer, don't even fully understand what's being asked. But I feel it building between us something more complex than gratitude, more dangerous than attraction. A bond forged in understanding what it means to be categorically alone. Tomorrow we'll train again. The day after, Thornfield arrives. 4 days from now, I face the council. But tonight, for just a few hours, I'm allowed to sit in this tower room and feel almost safe. Almost seen. Almost like I might survive what's coming. Almost. Chapter 4. The Diplomat and the Discovery. By the 3rd day of training, I can hold my transformed state for 47 seconds. It's not enough. Kane and I both know it. But it's progress hard won. Exhausting progress that leaves me drained and shaking after each session. The dissolution pull grows stronger the longer I hold form, like gravity increasing with each passing second. By second 40, I can feel myself starting to fragment, my consciousness spreading thin across too much space. Again, Kane says from the edge of the platform. I need a break. I gasp. My body is human-shaped, but my vision still carries prismatic edges, colors bleeding into each other like watercolors in rain. The council won't give you breaks. Again. There's no cruelty in his voice, just relentless determination. He's pushing me because he knows what's at stake. Because in 2 days, I'll stand in front of the most powerful shifters in the Confederation and they'll be looking for any excuse to lock me away. I close my eyes, reach for that door inside myself. Open it. The light floods through me, familiar now, almost comforting despite the danger. I've learned to recognize the different qualities of the energy. The warm gold that settles in my chest. The cool silver that traces my spine. The prismatic cascade that forms the wings. Each color has a purpose, a function, though I'm only beginning to understand what they do. I count seconds in my head. 1, 2, 3. Kane's presence anchors me at the edge of my awareness. Solid. Unmoving. Real. 10, 11, 12. The wings spread fully now. I can feel air currents I shouldn't be able to sense, temperature variations measured in fractions of degrees. The electromagnetic fields generated by the wards themselves. 20, 21, 22. My sense of self starts to blur. Where does Mary end and the light begin? The question becomes harder to answer with each passing second. 30, 31, 32. You're doing well. Kane's voice cuts through the roar. Keep counting. Stay focused on the numbers. 40, 41, 42. The pull intensifies. It would be so easy to just let go, to dissolve into pure energy and never have to face the council. Never have to prove myself, never have to carry the weight of being the first celestial in 400 years. Just light, just peace, just Mary, sharp now, commanding, come back. 50, 51. I push for one more second, just one more. Prove I can do this, prove I'm not helpless, prove. Now, I collapse the transformation, dropping back into my body with a force that sends me to my knees. Kane is there immediately, catching me before I pitch forward onto my face. 52 seconds, he says. That's the longest yet. Not enough. It'll have to be. He helps me sit, then settles beside me on the platform. We've fallen into this pattern over the past 3 days, the training, the collapse, the quiet moments after where neither of us speaks while I remember how to be human again. Thornfield arrives in 2 hours. We need to get you cleaned up and presentable. What's he like? Really? Kane considers the question. Brilliant. Ruthless when necessary. He sees 3 moves ahead in any political situation. He's also, he pauses, choosing words carefully, lonely. Being alpha means isolation, and Thornfield feels it more than most. His territory borders the wildlands, so he deals with threats the rest of us pretend don't exist. It changes you. Spending that much time at the edge of civilization. You sound like you understand that. I do. He looks at me. We're all lonely in different ways. Thornfield's just honest about it. Mira arrives at my tower with clothes finer than anything. I've worn deep blue velvet dress that brings out the strange prismatic quality my eyes have developed since the transformation. Silver threads woven through the fabric that catch the light. She styles my hair into something resembling elegance. Her movements efficient but not unkind. The Northern Alpha is particular about presentation. She explains as she works. He'll judge you on appearance first, substance second. Let him see someone composed, controlled. Not a scared girl. I am a scared girl. Then lie better. Her eyes meet mine in the mirror. That's what survival looks like sometimes. Pretending you're stronger than you are until you believe it yourself. When she's finished, I barely recognize my reflection. The girl staring back looks older, more refined, almost like someone who belongs in an alpha's fortress, instead of a laborer's daughter playing dress-up. Kane appears at my door precisely at sunset. He's dressed formally, too dark suit that makes him look even taller, his hair tied back to reveal the sharp planes of his face. His eyes widen fractionally when he sees me. You look, he stops. Good. You look good. So do you. We stare at each other for a beat too long, something charged building in the space between us. Then he clears his throat. Thornfield is waiting in the great hall. Are you ready? No. Good. That means you're paying attention. He offers his arm. Come on. Let's introduce you to the most dangerous diplomat in the Confederation. The Great Hall is a massive space I haven't seen before, high ceilings, stone pillars carved with wolves in various stages of transformation, a fireplace large enough to roast an entire deer. Thornfield stands with his back to us, examining one of the carvings. He's tall like Kane, but leaner, with dark hair shot through with silver despite appearing to be only in his 30s. When he turns, his eyes are pure gold wolf eyes, even in human form. Kane. His voice is cultured, educated. Thank you for the invitation. Thornfield. May I introduce Mary Stone? Those golden eyes focus on me with an intensity that makes me want to step back. He studies me like I'm a puzzle to be solved, taking in every detail from my hair to my shoes to the way I hold myself. The Celestial, he says finally. You're younger than I expected. I'm 19. Exactly. He moves closer, circling me slowly. Not threatening, but assessing. 19 years old. Manifested for the first time 3 days ago. No training, no understanding of your own abilities. And in 2 days, you'll face the council. Tell me, Mary Stone, do you have any idea how thoroughly Cross and Hale will try to destroy you? I'm beginning to understand. Are you? He stops in front of me. They will ask you to demonstrate your abilities. When you do, they'll claim you're unstable, dangerous. They'll present evidence of other Celestials who lost control, who destroyed entire villages in their dissolution. They'll paint you as a catastrophe waiting to happen, and then they'll offer you a choice: submit to containment, for the safety of all, or be eliminated as a threat. Ice floods my veins. Kane said they couldn't touch me in Central Hall. They can't kill you there. Thornfield agrees. But they can sentence you, and once the sentence is passed, you become fair game the moment you step outside those walls. I look at Kane. You didn't tell me it was that bad. Because I wasn't certain, he admits. But Thornfield has sources in the Eastern and Southern territories. If he says that's the plan, Thornfield confirms. Cross in particular wants you contained. She sees Celestials as the key to understanding why wolf bloodlines are weakening. She believes if she can study you, dissect your genetics, she can breed that power back into wolf lines. His expression darkens. She's wrong, of course. You can't force evolution, but that won't stop her from trying. So, what do we do? I ask. We give them no choice but to grant you autonomy. Thornfield moves to a table where someone has laid out papers, documents, maps, what look like ancient texts. The old laws are clear. Celestials cannot be bound against their will unless they've committed a crime against the Confederation. No crime, no containment. But they'll argue that your mere existence is dangerous, that you don't have to do anything wrong to be a threat. How do we counter that? By proving you have perfect control. By demonstrating that you understand your abilities and can contain them at will. And by making it politically costly for them to move against you. He pulls out a document, spreads it on the table. This is a Celestial Charter from 400 years ago. It grants Celestials the right to serve as independent advisors to any Alpha who requests their counsel. If you formally accept such a position before the hearing, you gain legal protections that even the Council can't easily override. You want me to become Kane's advisor? I want you to have options, Thornfield says. Right now, you're a free agent, which means you're vulnerable. But if you're officially in service to the Western Highlands, Attacking you becomes an act against Kane's sovereignty. Cross and Hale won't risk open conflict. I look at Kane. Is this what you want? Me bound to your territory? I want you alive, he says bluntly. Everything else is negotiable. There's a catch, Thornfield continues. The charter requires the Celestial to demonstrate clear purpose and unwavering loyalty to their chosen alpha. At the hearing, they'll test that. They'll try to break your resolve, make you doubt Kane, prove the bond is just political theater. You'll need to be convincing. How convincing? Thornfield and Kane exchange a look I can't quite read. The old bonds between Celestials and Alphas weren't just political, Thornfield says carefully. They were personal, deep, the kind of connection that can't be faked. If you're going to claim protection under the Charter, the Council will expect to see evidence of genuine loyalty, not forced compliance. Understanding dawns slowly. You're saying they'll want to see that I've chosen Kane specifically, not just as a political ally, but as, I trail off, not sure how to finish. As someone worth protecting in return, Kane finishes quietly. Someone you'd fight for, not just hide behind. Can you do that? Thornfield asks me directly. Can you stand in front of the Council and make them believe that your loyalty to Kane is real? That this isn't just convenience? I think about the past 3 days, the training sessions where Kane pushed me but never passed my breaking point, the way he anchors me when I'm on the edge of dissolution, the dinner we shared, the stories he told, the vulnerability he showed me, the careful distance he maintains even while offering protection, respecting my autonomy while making clear he'll defend me. Yes, I say, I can do that, because it's not entirely a lie. I do trust Kane. Do feel something building between us that goes deeper than simple gratitude. Whether it's enough to convince the Council, I don't know. But it's real. And sometimes real is all you have. Thornfield studies me for another long moment, then nods. All right. Then here's what we'll do. Tomorrow, we draft the formal charter agreement. You and Kane will need to review it, sign it, and have it witnessed before we arrive at Central Hall. That gives it legal weight. During the hearing, when Cross inevitably challenges your control, Kane will invoke the charter protections. That forces them to either accept it or openly defy 4 centuries of precedent. And if they defy it, then we have bigger problems than one Celestial, Thornfield says grimly. It means the Council is willing to break the old laws entirely, which would affect all of us. We spend the next 2 hours going over strategy. Thornfield maps out likely questions, worst-case scenarios, political lemarriage points. He's brilliant, dissecting the Council's probable moves with surgical precision, offering counters for each attack. By the time he's finished, my head is spinning with information. One last thing, Thornfield says as he prepares to leave. He turns to me, his golden eyes serious. During the hearing, there will be a moment when you have to choose between safety and truth, between saying what they want to hear and saying what you believe. When that moment comes, choose truth. Always. Because if you compromise yourself for their approval, you'll never stop compromising. And eventually, there won't be anything left of who you really are. Thank you, I say, for your help, for caring enough to come here. His expression softens fractionally. I'm not doing this entirely for you. I'm doing it because the world the Council is building where difference equals danger, where power justifies control, isn't a world I want to live in. You're just the catalyst that forces us to confront what we've become. He looks at Kane. Take care of her. She's more important than any of us realize yet. After Thornfield leaves, heading to guest quarters, Mira prepared, Kane and I stand alone in the great hall. The fire has burned down to embers, casting everything in warm shadow. Are you all right? He asks. I don't know. It's a lot. Yes. He moves closer, and I realize how comfortable I've become with his presence, how his proximity no longer triggers fear, only a strange kind of anticipation. Mary. The charter, the bond it implies. I want you to understand that it doesn't have to be more than political. Whatever happens at the hearing, whatever we need to perform for the Council, it doesn't obligate you to anything beyond legal protection. I know. But if it did become more, he stops, starts again. If this proximity, this time together, led to something genuine. I wouldn't object. I want you to know that. My heart hammers against my ribs. You're saying you're interested in me as more than a political problem. Yes. Simple, direct, no games. But I'm also saying I won't push, won't expect, won't demand. Whatever develops between us happens because we both choose it, or it doesn't happen at all. You've had enough people try to control you. I won't be another one. The sincerity in his voice, the careful respect, the way he's offering without pressuring it, cracks something open in my chest. I step closer, close enough that I can feel the heat radiating from his body. Can I ask you something? I say quietly. Anything. When you look at me, what do you see? The celestial? The political asset? Or just me? He reaches up slowly, telegraphing the movement, and brushes a strand of hair from my face. His fingers are warm against my skin. I see someone who refused to disappear even when the world wanted her to, he says. Someone who stands in an arena and takes their mockery without breaking. Someone who transforms into pure light and fights to stay human because she knows dissolution is the easy way out. I see strength wearing the mask of vulnerability. I see someone worth protecting not because of what she is, but because of who she chooses to be. That's the nicest thing anyone has ever said to me. Then people haven't been paying attention. His hand lingers near my face, not quite touching anymore, but close enough that I can feel the potential. Mary, I need to tell you something. Before the hearing. Before things get more complicated. What? He hesitates, and I see vulnerability flicker across his features. The same vulnerability he showed when he told me about killing his brother, about being betrayed by someone he trusted. I'm not good at this, he admits. Connection, trust, letting people close. I've spent 5 years building walls because it was easier than risking betrayal again. But you're getting through them, and it terrifies me. Because I don't want to hurt you, but I also don't know how to be what you might need. What I need, I say, surprising myself with the certainty in my voice, is someone who sees me as a person, not a problem. Someone who respects my choices, even when they're difficult. Someone who pushes me to be stronger while accepting that sometimes I'm weak. You're already giving me that. That's just basic decency. Maybe. But basic decency is rarer than you'd think. I take a breath, make a decision. Kane. Whatever happens at the hearing, whatever the council tries to do, I want you to know that my loyalty to you isn't just political theater. It's real. You saved me. Not just from the council, but from believing I was worthless. That matters. His eyes search mine, looking for deception or obligation, finding neither. Thank you, he says quietly, for trusting me. I'll do everything I can to be worthy of it. We stand like that for a long moment, the space between us charged with possibility. Then Kane steps back, breaking the tension. You should rest. Tomorrow we finalize the charter, and then we leave for Central Hall at dawn the day after. Once we're there, everything changes. I know, Mary. He pauses at the doorway. Whatever they ask you during the hearing, whatever they try to make you say or do, remember, you don't owe them anything, you owe yourself truth. Everything else is just performance. After he leaves, I return to my tower room and stand at the window, watching the stars emerge one by one over the mountains. Tomorrow we sign the charter. The day after, I face the council. And somewhere in all of this, I've stopped being just a scared girl pretending to be strong. I've started actually believing I might survive. Chapter 5. The Promise Unspoken. The charter is a thing of beauty. Thornfield presents it at breakfast. Ancient parchment he somehow procured overnight. The ink already faded to sepia, despite being freshly written. The document is covered in formal language that takes me 3 readings to fully understand, but the core is simple. I, Mary Stone, agree to serve as celestial advisor to the Western Highlands in exchange for protection, resources, and autonomy. The bond is permanent, unless dissolved by mutual consent. The penalties for breaking it on either side are severe. Sign here. Thornfield indicates a line at the bottom. And here. Kane will countersign. I'll witness. Then it becomes legally binding under the old laws. What exactly does celestial advisor mean? I ask. What will I actually be doing? Whatever Kane needs, Thornfield says. The Celestials served as mediators, strategists, sometimes warriors. Their abilities gave them perspectives others lacked. You'll learn as you grow into the role. And if I'm terrible at it, then you'll learn to be better. Kane settles into the chair across from me, a cup of coffee cradled in his hands. He looks tired, dark circles under his eyes, suggesting he slept as poorly as I did. The charter isn't about competence, it's about protection. Everything else we figure out together. I pick up the pen, then hesitate. This binds me to the Western Highlands. To you. For potentially the rest of my life. Yes, that's a long time to be connected to someone you barely know. It is, he agrees. Which is why I need you to be sure. Not about the politics we both know, this is the smart move strategically, but about whether you can live with this. With me. With everything that comes with being under my protection. I think about the alternative. Going before the council alone, vulnerable, without legal standing, hoping they'll grant me autonomy out of the goodness of their hearts, when everything Thornfield said makes clear they have no intention of doing that. I could refuse the charter, try to stand on my own, and likely end up contained or dead within a week. Or I could sign, tie myself to an alpha who's been nothing but honest with me, who respects my choices, who sees me as a person rather than a problem to be solved. It's not really a choice at all. I sign. My hand is steady as I write my name in careful script. Kane signs next to mine, his signature bold and decisive. Thornfield witnesses with his own elaborate scrawl. Done, Thornfield declares. As of this moment, Mary Stone is officially Celestial Advisor to the Western Highlands, under the protection of Alpha Kane. The council will receive notice before the hearing begins. He rolls up the parchment carefully. I'll carry this to Central Hall myself. It's too important to trust to anyone else. Thank you, I say. For everything. For coming here. For helping us. Save your thanks for after the hearing, he interrupts. We haven't won anything yet. We've just given ourselves a fighting chance. His golden eyes fix on Kane. I'll see you at Central Hall tomorrow. Try not to let her die between now and then. I'll do my best. After Thornfield leaves, heading back to his own territory to prepare, Kane and I are left alone with the weight of what we've just done. The charter changes things, makes our connection official, legal, binding. No longer just an alpha offering temporary shelter to a refugee. Now we're bound together by law and tradition, a bond that hasn't existed between Celestial and Alpha in 400 years. How do you feel? Kane asks. Terrified, committed, like I just signed away my life. You didn't sign it away, you chose a direction. He stands, moves to the window overlooking the courtyard. I know this isn't ideal, being bound to someone you barely know, to a territory you've never seen properly, to a role you don't understand. But Mary, I need you to believe me when I say I'll never use this bond against you. The charter gives me legal authority over you, but I won't exercise it. Your choices remain your own. Even if I make bad ones, even then. He turns to face me. One of the things I hated most about being contained by the council was the lack of agency. They wanted to make every decision for me, supposedly for my own good. I swore I'd never do that to anyone else. So yes, even if you make choices I disagree with, they're still yours to make. The sincerity in his voice settles something in my chest. Thank you. For understanding that control and protection aren't the same thing. Most people never learn the difference. We spend the rest of the morning in the training facility. One final session before the hearing, pushing my limits one last time. I manage 58 seconds in transformed state, agonizingly close to the target, but not quite there. The dissolution pull is overwhelming by the end. Kane's voice the only thing anchoring me back to physical form. It'll have to be enough, he says as I collapse into his arms for what feels like the 100th time. We're out of time to train. What if it's not enough? What if they demand I hold longer, and I can't? Then we'll deal with it. His arms tighten around me briefly before he helps me sit up. You've made incredible progress in 4 days. Most Celestials trained for years before attempting transformations this long. The fact that you can do it at all is remarkable. Remarkable isn't the same as safe. Nothing about you is safe, Mary. That's part of what makes you extraordinary. He brushes sweat-dampened hair from my forehead, the gesture tender. Come on, let's get you cleaned up. We leave at dawn, which means tonight is your last night in the fortress before everything changes. That evening, Mira helps me pack for the journey to Central Hall. Clothes, toiletries, the few personal items I've accumulated in my brief time here. It's a small collection, everything I own fits in a single bag. The realization makes me laugh. Something funny? Mira asks, just thinking about how little I have. 5 days ago, I owned nothing but shame and broken dreams. Now I own slightly more nothing, but with better clothes. Her expression softens. You own more than you think. You own your name, your choices, your future. Those aren't small things. They feel small when the council is trying to take them away. Then don't let them. She finishes folding a dress, sets it in the bag with careful precision. I've served Alpha Kane for 3 years. In that time, I've seen him face challenges that would have broken lesser alphas. The council's pressure, the isolation, the constant threat of containment. He survives because he refuses to compromise who he is. You have that same quality. I saw it the first day you arrived, the way you stood in that courtyard, terrified but unbroken. Hold on to that tomorrow. Don't let them make you small. Did Kane tell you to say that? Kane doesn't tell me anything about emotional matters. He's brilliant at strategy but useless at feelings. She smiles slightly. But I have eyes. I've watched how he looks at you, how he pushes you in training but catches you when you fall, how he talks about you when you're not around. Like you're a puzzle he's actually interested in solving, not just an obligation to fulfill. My cheeks heat. We barely know each other. Sometimes knowing happens fast, especially when you're both alone in similar ways. She closes the bag, turns to face me fully. I'm not saying you have to feel anything for him, just don't dismiss it if you do. Good men who respect boundaries are rare. Men who see strength in vulnerability are rarer still. Whatever else Kane is, he's both of those things. After she leaves, I stand at my window, watching the sun set over the mountains one last time. Tomorrow this view will be a memory. Tomorrow I'll stand in Central Hall and face the most powerful shifters in the Confederation. Tomorrow everything I've built over the past 5 days will be tested. A knock interrupts my thoughts. Come in, I call. Kane enters carrying 2 glasses and a bottle of something amber. I thought you might want company, unless you prefer solitude before the battle. Company sounds good. He pours us each a drink, some kind of whiskey that burns going down but settles warm in my stomach. We sit in the chairs by the fireplace, the familiar configuration from our first dinner together. Nervous? He asks. Terrified. You? Same. He takes a long drink. I've faced the council before, but never with something this important at stake. If they rule against you, against the charter, I'm not sure what I'll do. You'll respect their decision because you have to. Will I? His eyes meet mine, dark and troubled. I've spent 5 years playing their game, following their rules, accepting containment, because open rebellion would hurt my pack more than it would hurt them. But this, you feels different. Like a line I won't cross even if it costs me everything. Don't say that. Don't make me responsible for your choices. I'm not. I'm telling you my choice is already made. He leans forward, elbows on his knees, the glass dangling from his fingers. If they try to take you tomorrow, I'll fight. Maybe not in the hall, the wards prevent that. But afterward, I'll fight, Mary. Even if it means war. That's insane. You can't go to war over one person. Why not? Wars have been started for less noble reasons. And you're not just one person. You're the first celestial in 4 centuries. You're proof that their precious hierarchy is failing. You're everything they fear wrapped in a package they can't control. If I let them destroy you, I'm complicit in everything I claim to oppose. The intensity in his voice steals my breath. You barely know me. How can you be willing to risk everything for someone you met less than a week ago? Because sometimes knowing happens fast, he echoes Mira's words. Because in 4 days you've shown me more genuine courage than most people demonstrate in a lifetime. Because you're kind to servants who fear you, patient with training that nearly kills you, and honest when lying would be easier. Because when I look at you, I see someone worth fighting for, and I'm tired of only fighting for abstracts like territory and power. I want to fight for something real. I set down my glass with trembling hands. Kane, what are you saying? I'm saying the charter makes our connection legal. But I want more than legality. I want... He stops, struggles with the words. I don't know what I want. Partnership, maybe. Trust. Someone who sees my worst parts and doesn't run. Someone I can be honest with without fearing betrayal. I thought I'd never risk that again after what happened with Cross's spy. But you make me want to try. That's a lot of pressure. I know. And I'm sorry for putting it on you the night before you face the council. But if something goes wrong tomorrow, if they find a way to separate us despite the charter, I need you to know. The protection I'm offering isn't just political. It's personal. And if we survive tomorrow, if we make it through this, I'd like the chance to explore what that means. My heart pounds so hard I'm certain he can hear it. This is the question that's been building between us, the unspoken thing hovering at the edges of every conversation. Not, will you marry me? It's too soon for that. We barely know each other. But will you stay? Will you build something with me? Will you let this connection deepen? Will you risk caring about someone as damaged and complicated as I am? I think about the alternative. Going through life alone, trusting no one, building walls so high that nothing can hurt me but nothing can reach me either. It's safe. It's lonely. It's exactly what I've been doing for the past year. And it's slowly killed every part of me that felt alive. I can't promise you forever, I say carefully. I can't even promise you next week. But I can promise you truth. And the truth is you scare me, not because you're dangerous, but because you matter. Because in less than a week you've become someone I don't want to lose, and that terrifies me more than the council ever could. His expression shifts surprise, hope, something vulnerable. That's enough. Truth is enough. Is it? Because I'm a mess, Kane. I'm 19 with no training, no understanding of my abilities, and a tendency to nearly dissolve into pure energy every time I transform. I'm not some powerful celestial who can be your political asset. I'm just someone fighting to survive with courage and intelligence and stubborn refusal to quit, he interrupts. That's not nothing, Mary. That's everything that matters. He reaches across the space between our chairs, offers his hand palm up, an invitation, not a demand. I stare at it for a long moment, rough with calluses, scarred across the knuckles, trembling slightly. A warrior's hand, a killer's hand. A hand that's caught me every time I've fallen. I take it. His fingers close around mine, warm and solid and real. We sit like that, hands linked, the fire crackling beside us, neither of us speaking. Sometimes silence says more than words ever could. Eventually, Kane breaks the quiet. Whatever happens tomorrow, remember something. The council will try to define you. Celestial, threat, asset, problem. Don't let them. You're Mary Stone. You survived being wolfless in a world that demanded wolves. You transformed into something they thought extinct. You learned control in 4 days when it should have taken months. You're whoever you decide to be, not whatever they need you to be. I'll try to remember that when they're demanding I demonstrate longer than I can hold. And if they do, I'll intervene. Charter protections exist for exactly this, preventing exploitation of celestials beyond their capabilities. His thumb traces circles on the back of my hand, probably unconsciously. You're not alone tomorrow. I'll be there. Thornfield will be there. And whatever they throw at you, we face it together. Together, I repeat. The word feels foreign, strange. I've been alone for so long that partnership seems impossible, but maybe that's what courage is, doing the impossible thing anyway. We talk for hours. About nothing important. Favorite books, childhood memories, the small details that make up a life. Kane tells me about growing up as the spare heir, always in his brother's shadow, developing abilities that set him apart. I tell him about Iris, about my father's disappointment, about the year spent working in textile mills and wondering if this was all life would ever be. By the time we finally part, it's past midnight. Dawn comes early, and with it, the journey to Central Hall, to judgment, to whatever future the council decides I deserve. Kane walks me to my tower door, still holding my hand like he's reluctant to let go. Thank you, I say. For tonight. For honesty. For making me feel less alone. Same. He lifts my hand, presses a kiss to my knuckles, formal, old-fashioned, achingly tender. Sleep if you can, and marry. Yes, whatever they ask you tomorrow. Whatever question they pose to test your loyalty. The answer is already in you. Trust yourself to find it. After he leaves, I lie in bed staring at the ceiling, my hand still tingling where his lips touched. The question he didn't ask hangs in the air like smoke. Will you stay with me after this is over? I don't have an answer yet. Don't know if what I feel is genuine connection or just gratitude mixed with proximity. Don't know if I'm capable of trust after everything that's been taken from me. But I want to find out. That has to count for something. Dawn arrives too quickly. Mira wakes me with tea and breakfast, her movements efficient. The coaches are being prepared. You leave in an hour. Wear the gray dress, it's formal enough for the hearing but practical enough to move in if necessary. You think I'll need to move? I think Central Hall is neutral ground, but the journey there isn't. Her expression is serious. Cross and Hale would love to prevent you from arriving at all. Kane's taking precautions, but stay alert. The journey is tense. 2 coaches, one carrying me, Kane, and Thornfield, the other filled with guards. We travel through wilderness rather than main roads, taking a route that adds hours but decreases the chance of ambush. Every time we stop to rest the horses, I see Kane scanning the tree line, his body coiled for threat. Nothing happens. But the possibility hangs over us like a storm that never quite breaks. We arrive at Central Hall in late afternoon. The building is ancient, older even than Shadow Peak, built of white stone that seems to glow in the fading light. Wards shimmer visibly around it, layers of protection woven so tightly that the air itself looks distorted. No violence is possible within those wards, Thornfield explains as we approach. The old magic prevents it absolutely. You could try to attack someone, and your body simply wouldn't obey. It's the most neutral ground that exists. Then why am I still terrified? Because violence isn't the only way to destroy someone, Kane says quietly. Words can cut just as deep. We're shown to private quarters to wait until tomorrow's hearing. 3 rooms connected by a common area, one for me, one for Kane, one for Thornfield. The space is luxurious but impersonal, clearly designed for diplomatic functions rather than comfort. That evening, Cross sends a message requesting a private audience with me. Absolutely not, Kane says immediately. It's a trap. It's protocol. Thornfield counters. She's entitled to interview all parties before a formal hearing. Refusing makes Mary look like she has something to hide. Then I'll accompany her. Not permitted. Council rules require private interviews. Thornfield looks at me. It's your decision, but know that whatever you say to Cross will likely be used against you tomorrow. I think about what Kane said, about choosing truth over safety, about not letting them define me. I'll meet with her, I decide. Alone. Kane's jaw tightens. Mary, I have to face them eventually. Might as well start now. Cross receives me in a formal sitting room within Central Hall. She's even more elegant than she appeared in the arena. Auburn hair braided intricately, dressed in Eastern Territory colors, every inch the powerful alpha. Her smile doesn't reach her eyes. Mary Stone. Thank you for agreeing to speak with me. She gestures to a chair across from hers. Please, sit. This isn't an interrogation, just a conversation. I sit, keeping my spine straight, my expression neutral. I'll be direct, Cross says. Your transformation has created a significant problem for the Council. Not because we fear Celestials, the old prejudices are behind us, but because your abilities are unstable, untrained, and potentially catastrophic if misused. Surely you understand our concern? I understand you see me as dangerous. Not you personally, your power. She leans forward slightly. I've studied the historical records. Do you know how many Celestials lost control and dissolved in the final years before the Purge? Hundreds. Entire villages destroyed by Celestials who couldn't maintain cohesion. The wolf shifters didn't genocide your kind out of prejudice. They did it out of survival. That's convenient justification for murder. Her eyes flash. It's historical fact. And now you've manifested. Without training, without understanding. Bonded yourself to an alpha who has his own issues with control. Can you honestly tell me that's not a recipe for disaster? I can tell you I'm learning. With Kane's help. Kane. She says his name like it tastes bitter. You've known him less than a week. How much do you really understand about what he wants from you? He wants me safe. Does he? Or does he want what you represent, a celestial under his control, giving him la marriage over the council that's contained him for 5 years? She sits back, studying me. I'm not trying to be cruel, Mary. But you're very young, very naive. And you've bound yourself to someone who has every reason to use you as a political weapon. Doubt flickers in my chest. Is she right? Have I been so desperate for protection that I've walked into a different kind of trap? Then, I remember, the way Kane catches me when I fall. The respect in his voice when he tells me choices are mine. The vulnerability he showed sharing his past. The careful distance he maintains, even while offering closeness. You're wrong, I say quietly. Kane has been honest with me about everything. The charter, the political implications, his own struggles with control. If he wanted to use me, he'd hide those things. Instead, he's shown me exactly who he is, and let me choose anyway. Or he's shown you exactly what you needed to see to make that choice. Cross stands, moves to the window. I'm going to be frank with you. Tomorrow's hearing will determine your fate. If you demonstrate control, acknowledge the dangers, and agree to regular evaluations, the council will likely grant you conditional autonomy. You'll be free but monitored, safe but supervised. It's the best outcome you can hope for. And if I refuse, then we'll have no choice but to consider you an active threat. She turns back to me, her expression hard. I don't want that, Mary. Despite what Kane may have told you, I'm not a monster. I'm an alpha trying to protect millions of shifters from a power we don't understand. Help me protect them. Accept the supervision. Don't let your attachment to Kane destroy your chance at a real life. The offer is tempting, seductive, even. Safety, autonomy, freedom. All I have to do is agree to let them watch me, test me, ensure I'm not dangerous. What's so wrong with that? Accept it means never fully being free, never knowing if my choices are truly mine or if I'm just performing for invisible observers. Never being able to trust that acceptance isn't conditional on continued compliance. It means being contained with prettier words. I'll think about it, I say, because refusing outright seems unwise. That's all I ask. Cross's expression softened slightly. One more thing. Tomorrow, someone will ask you a question about loyalty, about who you'd choose if forced to pick between Kane and the greater good. Think carefully about your answer, because it will define everything that comes after. After the meeting, I return to find Kane pacing the common area like a caged wolf. What did she say? He demands immediately. I relay the conversation. With each sentence, his expression grows darker. Conditional autonomy, he spits. Supervised freedom. That's just containment with a prettier name. She made it sound reasonable. Of course she did. Cross is brilliant at making tyranny seem like protection. He stops pacing, faces me directly. Mary, listen to me. If you accept her terms, you'll never be free. They'll test you constantly, looking for excuses to tighten restrictions. One mistake, one loss of control, one refusal to comply, and they'll use it as justification for full containment. I've lived under that system for 5 years. Don't volunteer for it. But what if she's right? What if I am dangerous? You are dangerous, he says bluntly. So am I. So is every shifter with power. The question isn't whether you're dangerous. It's whether you can be trusted to use that danger responsibly. And the only way to answer that is through lived experience, not laboratory conditions. Thornfield enters from his room, clearly having heard the raised voices. What happened? I explain Cross's offer again. Thornfield's expression remains neutral, but I see calculation behind his eyes. The question she mentioned, he says slowly. About who you'd choose between Kane and the greater good. That's not hypothetical. She's going to force that choice tomorrow. Publicly. And your answer will determine everything. What's the right answer? I ask desperately. There isn't one, Thornfield says. Choose Cain, and they'll claim you're blindly loyal, dangerous in your devotion. Choose the council, and the charter protections become meaningless. Why should Cain protect someone who won't protect him in return? So I'm trapped no matter what I say. No, Cain says firmly. He crosses to me, takes both my hands in his. You choose truth, whatever that is for you. If you genuinely believe the council's way is better, say so. If you believe staying with me is right, say that. But don't lie, don't calculate, because the moment you start performing for them, you've already lost. Even if truth costs us everything? Especially then. His eyes bore into mine, intense and unwavering. I'm not asking you to choose me, Mary. I'm asking you to choose yourself, whatever that looks like. Later, alone in my room, I stand at the window, staring out at Central Hall's grounds. Tomorrow I face the council. Tomorrow they'll ask the question. Tomorrow I'll have to answer. And I still don't know what that answer is. Chapter 6. The Trial of Light and Shadow. I don't sleep. Every time I close my eyes, I see versions of tomorrow playing out. In some, I demonstrate perfect control, and the council has no choice but to grant autonomy. In others, I dissolve completely in front of thousands, proving every fear they have about celestials. In the worst versions, I say the wrong thing when they ask the question, and watch Cain's face close off as he realizes I've chosen safety over loyalty. By dawn, I'm exhausted and wired, my nerves singing with tension. Mira appears. She traveled separately with the household staff and helps me dress. The outfit was chosen carefully, deep midnight blue that brings out the prismatic quality in my eyes, cut formally enough for the council but simple enough that I don't look like I'm trying too hard. She braids my hair into an intricate crown, pins it with silver that catches the light. You look like a celestial, she says quietly. Not a scared girl. Remember that. What if I am a scared girl? Then you fake it until you're not. She steps back, examining her work. The hearing begins at noon. Alpha Cain will escort you to the chamber. Once inside, you'll stand in the center while the council sits in judgment. Answer their questions honestly but carefully. And Mary. Her expression turns serious. When they ask you to choose what you can live with, not what they want to hear. The morning drags. Thornfield reviews strategy one last time, drilling me on likely questions and safe responses. Cain says little, but his presence is a constant, standing near the window, watching the grounds, radiating barely contained tension. At 11:30, a herald arrives. The council is ready. The Celestial will present herself. Cain offers his arm. I take it, grateful for the solid anchor. Thornfield falls into step behind us as we walk through Central Hall's corridors. Other shifters press against the walls as we pass. Word has spread. Everyone wants to see the Celestial who might change everything. The hearing chamber is enormous. A circular space with a domed ceiling. 4 thrones positioned at cardinal points, north, east, south, west. The Alphas already occupy their seats. Thornfield to the north, his golden eyes calm. Cross to the east, elegant and composed. Hale to the south, radiating barely concealed hostility. And Cain to the west, his expression carved from stone. Wait, Cain to the west. But Cain is standing beside me. Understanding crashes over me like ice water. The figure on the western throne isn't Cain. Can't be Cain. Because Cain is here. His hand still on my arm. His presence solid and real. But the man on the throne has Cain's face. Cain's build. Cain's dark hair and sharp features. Dressed in formal alpha regalia, he sits with perfect posture. His expression distant and cold. What? I start. The Cain beside me speaks, and his voice is different. Rougher. I'm sorry, Mary. I should have told you. But you needed to see for yourself. The chamber doors close behind us with a boom that echoes like a death knell. The Cain on the throne, the real Cain, Alpha of the Western Highlands, rises. Mary Stone, thank you for attending this hearing. I turn to the man beside me, the one who trained me, ate dinner with me, held my hand and promised protection. His face is shifting now, blurring at the edges. The features remained similar but not identical: sharper cheekbones, different eye color, a scar that wasn't there before. "Who are you?" I whisper. "My name is Rowan. I'm Kane's beta, his second in command." Guilt flashes across his face. The Alpha needed to know if your abilities were genuine, if you could be trusted. He couldn't risk exposing himself to an unknown Celestial. So I went instead. Pretended to be him. Learned what you were capable of. The betrayal hits like a physical blow. Everything, the training, the conversations, the careful vulnerability, the almost confession last night, it was all a lie. I wasn't bonding with Kane. I was bonding with his proxy, while the real Alpha watched from a distance, safe and untouched. "You're saying everything was fake." My voice sounds hollow even to my own ears. "Not fake," Rowan says desperately. "I told you truth. My truth. The Alpha's truth. Everything I said was real. Just not from him." I look at the throne where the real Kane sits, watching this revelation play out, with no expression on his face. "You used your beta to test me, to see if I was worth the risk." Kane, the real Kane, descends from his throne. As he approaches, I see the differences now that I'm looking for them. This Kane moves differently, carries himself with more authority, radiates power in a way Rowan only mimicked. His eyes are colder, more calculating, less human. "I apologize for the deception," he says, and his voice is similar to Rowan's but fractionally deeper. "But surely you understand. A Celestial appearing after 4 centuries, it could have been an elaborate trap. I couldn't risk personal exposure until I was certain of your intentions. So you sent your beta to pretend to be you. To train with me. To..." I stop, mortification flooding through me. Everything I said to him, everything I shared, you heard all of it. Yes, the vulnerability, the almost confession, the hand-holding. My voice rises despite myself. "You watched me fall for your proxy while you stayed safe in your fortress. I watched you demonstrate exactly what I needed to see." Kane corrects. "That you're genuine. That your abilities are real. That the bond between Celestial and Alpha can be authentic." He stops a few feet away, studies me with those cold eyes. "The charter you signed is still valid. Rowan signed as my proxy, with my full authority. Nothing has changed legally. Everything has changed." I look at Rowan, who won't meet my eyes. "You let me think. You encouraged me to believe." "I know." Rowan's voice breaks. "I'm sorry. The Alpha commanded it, and I obey. But Mary, everything I told you was true. My own history with the Council, my understanding of being different, my respect for your courage, that was all real. I just delivered it wearing his face, which makes it worse." I step away from both of them, needing distance. The assembled crowd watches in rapt silence. This drama is better than any demonstration. You didn't just lie about who you were. You made me care, made me trust, made me think I'd found someone who actually saw me, and it was performance. All of it. "Not all," Kane says quietly. Something shifts in his expression, the ice cracking slightly. "What Rowan told you about me is accurate. I did kill my brother. I am contained by the Council. I do understand isolation and difference. He was my voice. Mary. My hands. But the thoughts were mine." Cross speaks from her throne, and I hear satisfaction in her voice. "This is exactly what I warned you about, Miss Stone. You've been manipulated from the beginning. Alpha Kane has used you." "Enough," Thornfield interrupts. His golden eyes are furious as they fix on Kane. "You didn't tell me about the proxy. We discussed strategy, assuming you were the one who'd built rapport with her. Because you would have objected," Kane says calmly. "And I couldn't afford to be swayed by sentiment when security was at stake." "Security," I laugh, and it sounds broken. "You were afraid I might hurt you, so you sent someone expendable instead." "Rowan isn't expendable. Then why risk him instead of yourself?" I spin to face the real Kane fully. "If the bond matters, if the charter means anything, why hide behind a proxy? Why not face me yourself?" For the first time, Kane hesitates. The mask slips, and I see something underneath, not quite guilt, but close. "Because I've been betrayed before." Because trusting cost me everything once, and I swore I'd never make that mistake again. Because you terrified me in a way the council never has. Terrified you how? By making me want to trust again. His eyes meet mine, and they're not cold anymore. They're haunted. When Rowan reported back each day, described your progress, your courage, your refusal to quit, I wanted it to be real, wanted to believe someone like you could exist, but I couldn't risk finding out I was wrong. So I stayed away until the hearing, where the truth would be revealed regardless. And now you know the truth, I say bitterly, that I'm exactly what you suspected, naive enough to fall for your theater. No. He takes a step closer. Now I know that Rowan wasn't exaggerating, that you're everything he said and more, and I know I've destroyed any chance of genuine connection by playing it safe. You're right, you have. Hale rises from his throne, clearly done with the emotional drama. Fascinating as this is, we have a hearing to conduct. Miss Stone, if you're finished with your tantrum, we have questions. The word tantrum ignites something in me, rage cutting through the hurt. Tantrum? I just discovered that the person I've spent 5 days learning to trust doesn't actually exist. That the alpha I bound myself to was too afraid to face me directly. That everything I thought was building between us was elaborate manipulation. And you call it a tantrum? I call it what it is. Emotional volatility that proves exactly why Celestials are dangerous. Hale's smile is cruel. You can't even control your feelings. Yet you want us to believe you can control your power? My feelings are human. My power is not. I force myself to breathe, to think. They're trying to unbalance me, make me seem unstable. What do you want from me? Demonstration, Cross says. Transform and hold for 60 seconds. Prove you have the control you claim. I look at Kane, the real Kane. And if I do, then we'll discuss terms, Thornfield says before Kane can respond. But Miss Stone, you should know the charter you signed may be legally valid, but the bond it represents is compromised. The council will argue that a charter based on deception has no moral weight. They'd be right, I say quietly. In the audience, I can see Rowan watching with anguish written across his face. The man I thought was Kane, the one who caught me when I fell, who pushed me to be stronger, who offered partnership and respect. He was real, even if his identity was false. And I don't know how to reconcile those two truths. Miss Stone, Cross prompts. We're waiting. I walk to the center of the chamber. The marble floor beneath my feet is marked with the same circular patterns as the training facility containing wards built into the structure. Safe for demonstration. Safe for judgment. I close my eyes, reach for that door inside myself. It opens reluctantly. The light floods through me, but it's different this time. Harder, angrier. The colors are sharper, more violent crimson mixing with gold, deep blue bleeding into silver. The wings unfold with force enough to create windstorms that whip through the chamber. When I open my eyes, I see through prismatic layers that reveal too much. The fear in Cross's expression, the satisfaction in Hale's, the regret in Kane's. The regret hurts most of all. I count seconds. 1, 2, 3. But it's harder now. The dissolution pull is stronger, my anchor to physical form weakened by emotional devastation. What's the point of staying human when being human just means being hurt? 10, 11, 12. She's unstable, someone in the audience whispers. 20, 21, 22. Losing cohesion, another voice adds. 30, 31, 32. They're right. I can feel myself fragmenting, spreading thin, the edges of my consciousness bleeding into the light. It would be so easy to just let go, to dissolve completely, and never have to face the truth that I was played, manipulated, made a fool of in front of everyone who matters. 40, 41, 42. Mary, it's Rowan's voice, desperate. Come back. You can do this. I know you can. But he's not the anchor anymore. I don't trust his voice, don't trust his concern. It's just more performance, more theater designed to manipulate. 50, 51, 52. Miss Stone, Thornfield calls. You've proven your point. You can stop now. But I don't want to stop. I want to push further. See how close I can come to the edge without falling over. Test the limits of this power that makes me dangerous, valuable, feared. If they're going to judge me anyway, let them judge the full scope of what I am. 60, 61, 62. Mary. Kane's voice, sharp with command. Not Rowan's softer version, but the real Alpha's voice, carrying the full weight of his authority. Stop now. The command hits like a physical force. My body obeys before my mind can protest, the transformation collapsing in an instant. I drop from the air, momentum carrying me downward with enough force to crack bone when I hit the marble. I don't hit the marble. Kane catches me. Not Rowan. Kane. The real one. He moved faster than sight, crossing the chamber in the space between heartbeats to be there when I fell. His arms are solid around me, his body absorbing the impact. His face close enough that I can see the genuine terror in his eyes. 73 seconds, he says roughly. You held for 73 seconds, longer than any celestial in the historical records. Let go of me. No. I said let go. I struggle, but he holds firm. Not until you're stable. You pushed too far, your consciousness is still scattered. Give yourself time to cohere fully. His grip tightens. And Mary, I'm sorry. For the deception. For the pain. For all of it. I made the wrong choice, and I'll spend however long it takes earning back your trust. You can't earn back what was never real. It was real. He forces me to meet his eyes. Everything Rowan told you came from me. Every word, every gesture, every moment of vulnerability that was my truth delivered through his voice. I was a coward for not facing you directly, but the feelings were genuine. Are genuine. Prove it. I spit. Stand in front of the council and tell them the truth. About why you really brought me here. About what you actually want from me. No proxies, no performance, just you. Something shifts in his expression. A decision being made. He stands, still holding me against his chest, and turns to face the council. You want to know why I brought Mary Stone to the Western Highlands? Not for political marriage, not for research, not even primarily for her protection. His voice carries across the chamber, clear and certain. I brought her because I saw someone who survived what should have destroyed her, because I recognized my own isolation in her eyes. Because in 400 years of Celestials being extinct, the universe decided to send her now, to this moment, and I wanted to understand why. That's not an answer, Hale says. That's sentiment. It's truth, Kane corrects. The charter is legally valid, but more than that, it's necessary. Not because I need a celestial advisor, because she needs protection from people who see her as something to be contained, rather than someone to be valued. And because I'm tired of watching the council destroy anything they can't control. Bold words, Cross says coldly, from someone we've contained for 5 years. You haven't contained me. You've delayed me. Kane's arms tighten around me fractionally, and Mary Stone just demonstrated that celestial power exceeds anything in recorded history. She held transformation for 73 seconds with no formal training, under emotional duress, in front of hostile witnesses. She's not the problem. Your fear of her is. The chamber erupts into argument. Cross and Hale demanding containment, Thornfield countering with charter protections, voices rising and overlapping until it's impossible to track individual words. Through it all, Kane holds me steady. And despite everything, the betrayal, the hurt, the devastating truth, I find myself leaning into that steadiness. Hating that I need it. Hating more that it's real. Finally, Thornfield pounds his fist against his throne. Enough. We're at an impasse. The charter is valid, but the bond is compromised. Miss Stone has demonstrated control, but under circumstances that suggest instability, I propose a compromise. What compromise? I ask, my voice rough. You remain under charter protection in the Western Highlands. But you submit to monthly evaluations by a neutral assessor, someone not affiliated with any single alpha. If after 1 year you've maintained control and caused no harm, full autonomy is granted. If you've failed, the council revisits containment options. 1 year of supervised freedom, I say. That's still containment. It's a path to real freedom, Thornfield corrects, which is more than you'll get from Cross or Hale. I look at Kane. Really look at him. See the guilt, the regret, the genuine concern, mixed with political calculation. He used me, but he also protected me. He lied about who was in the room, but the truths spoken were still his truths. I have a condition, I say. If I agree to this, the charter is rewritten. Not between me and Alpha Kane. Between me and his beta, Rowan. Shock ripples through the chamber. Explain, Cross demands. Rowan is who I bonded with, who trained me, who earned my trust. I keep my eyes on Kane. If the charter must exist, let it reflect reality. I'll stay in the Western Highlands under Rowan's supervision, not Kane's. The Alpha can maintain political authority, but my day-to-day protection falls to the man I actually know. Kane's expression is unreadable. That's not how charter bonds work. Then we make it work. I push against his arms, and this time he releases me. I stand on my own, swaying slightly but upright. You wanted me safe. This keeps me safe. You wanted me in your territory. This keeps me there. But you don't get to be the one I trust. Not after this. That role goes to the man who showed up, regardless of what name he was using. For a long moment, Kane says nothing. Then, if that's what you want. But Mary, this doesn't absolve me. Whether you report to Rowan or to me, I'm still responsible for what happened. Still accountable. I know. I turn to face the council. Do we have an agreement? Modified charter, monthly evaluations, path to autonomy after 1 year. Thornfield looks at Cross and Hale. Some silent negotiation happens between them. Finally, all three nod. Agreed, Thornfield declares. The charter will be rewritten to reflect beta supervision, with alpha authority maintained for legal purposes. Miss Stone will remain in the Western Highlands under these terms. We'll reconvene in 1 month for the first evaluation. The hearing is over. I've won, technically. I have protection, a path to freedom, legal standing. But the victory tastes like ash. Because the person I thought I was building something with doesn't exist. Because trust, once broken, doesn't heal just because you want it to. Because I'm bound to a territory where every interaction will remind me of the deception. As the crowd disperses, Rowan approaches hesitantly. Mary, I know you're angry. You have every right to be. But I want you to know everything I said to you was true. The respect, the admiration, the desire for connection. That was all real. It was real for you, I say quietly. But it wasn't real for him. And since he's the alpha, he's the one who matters. I matter, Rowan insists. The charter says so now. You made sure of that. I made sure I'd have someone I actually trust nearby. Don't mistake pragmatism for forgiveness. His face falls, but he nods. I understand. But Mary, I'll earn your trust again. However long it takes. I swear it. I don't respond. Can't promise anything when I'm still trying to process what just happened. Kane approaches after Rowan retreats. He stops a careful distance away, respecting the boundary I've drawn. You surprised me, he says, modifying the charter that way. It's clever. It's survival. I meet his eyes. You wanted to know if I could be trusted. Now you have your answer. I can be with the right people. You're just not one of them. I understand. Do you? The words come out sharper than intended. You played it safe. Sent your proxy to take the risk while you watched from a distance. That's not leadership. That's cowardice. You're right. No defensiveness, no excuses. I was afraid, and I let that fear compromise something that could have been genuine. I can't undo that, but I can promise you something going forward. What? I won't use intermediaries with you again. When we interact, it will be face-to-face, honest, with no proxies between us. You'll always know it's me, and I'll spend the next year proving that the man Rowan described exists in me too. Not perfectly, not without flaws, but genuinely. And if I never believe it, then I'll have failed. But at least I'll have tried. He glances at where Rowan stands with Thornfield, clearly discussing logistics. He cares about you, you know. More than he was supposed to. The reports he gave me, they were professional at first, but toward the end, there was something else. Genuine affection, respect. Maybe even... He stops. I don't know what would have developed if the truth hadn't been revealed. But don't punish him for my cowardice. I'm not punishing him. I'm protecting myself. I turn away. The hearing is over. I've agreed to the terms. Now I just want to leave. The coaches are ready when you are. I walk away without looking back. Behind me, I hear Kane and Rowan speaking in low tones, working out the details of this new arrangement, the modified charter, the evaluation schedule, the parameters of my carefully supervised freedom. They're discussing my life like it's a logistics problem to be solved. Maybe that's all it's ever been. Chapter 7. The Year of Hollow Freedom. The journey back to Shadow Peak is silent. I ride in the first coach with Rowan, while Kane follows in the second with Thornfield. The arrangement was Rowan's suggestion, giving me space from the Alpha, time to process without his presence, as a constant reminder of the betrayal. It's thoughtful, kind, even, and I hate that I notice. You don't have to talk to me, Rowan says after an hour of oppressive quiet. I understand if you need time. I don't need time, I need honesty. I finally look at him properly. Without Kane's face overlaying his features, I can see Rowan for who he really is, similar build. But his features are softer, his eyes more green than gray, his hair lighter. He's handsome in a different way. More approachable, less dangerous. How much of what you told me was yours, and how much was him? The stories about killing his brother, being contained by the council, those were his. Everything else. He hesitates. The feelings were mine. The respect for your courage, the admiration for how you handled training, the desire to see you succeed. Those were genuine. I reported facts to him, but the emotions attached were my own. So when you held my hand at dinner, when you told me I wasn't alone, when you almost, I stop, the memory too raw. That was you, not him. Yes. He looks away. I crossed lines I wasn't supposed to. Let myself care when I should have stayed detached. By the third day, I wasn't just gathering information. I was. He struggles for words. Invested. In you. In your success. In the possibility of something real. But you still lied about who you were. I did. Because the Alpha commanded it. And I follow commands. But Mary, he turns back to me, and there's anguish in his eyes. If I could go back and choose differently, tell you the truth from the beginning, I would. Even if it cost me everything. Because what we built, however brief, mattered to me. The sincerity in his voice cracks something in my chest. I want to stay angry, to nurse the hurt, and use it as armor. But the truth is more complicated. Rowan was following orders, doing his duty. The betrayal was Kane's choice, not his. And everything Rowan gave me, the patience in training, the careful respect, the moments of genuine connection, those were real. I don't know how to forgive this, I admit quietly. I don't know if I even want to. Then don't. Not yet. Maybe not ever. He shifts in his seat, maintaining careful distance. But the charter says I'm responsible for you now. For your safety, your training, your well-being. That means we'll be spending time together. A lot of time. I'm asking for permission to try to earn back what I destroyed. Not as Kane's proxy, as myself. And if you fail, then I fail. But at least I'll know I tried everything I could to make this right. I study his face. The honest eyes, the genuine regret, the careful hope. He's not Kane, doesn't have the Alpha's cold calculation or political brilliance. But maybe that's better. Maybe what I need isn't someone who plays games 3 moves ahead. Maybe I need someone who just shows up, consistently, honestly, without hidden agendas. Fine, I say. You can try. But Rowan, if you lie to me again, about anything, we're done. Charter or no charter, I'll find a way to dissolve this bond. Understood. Relief floods his expression. Thank you. For the chance. We lapse back into silence, but it's less oppressive now, less filled with anger and more with exhausted resignation. Outside the window, the The landscape shifts from Central Hall's cultivated grounds back to wilderness, mountains rising in the distance. When we finally reach Shadow Peak, it's near midnight. Mira meets us in the courtyard, taking in my exhausted state with one assessing glance. "The East Tower is prepared," she says. "I've had food sent up. You should rest." "The hearing?" I ask. "What have people heard?" "That you demonstrated remarkable control, that the charter was modified, that you'll remain here under supervision." Her expression softens fractionally. "And that the Alpha used a proxy, which has caused discussion among the staff. I bet." I follow her toward the tower, acutely aware of the whispers, the stares, the renewed speculation about what I am and what I mean for the pack. Rowan walks behind us, keeping a respectful distance but staying close enough to intervene if needed. Protective, the role he's always played, apparently, just now under his own name. At my tower door, Mira pauses. "Miss Stone, a word of advice?" "Of course. Don't let them make you smaller because you were hurt. The staff, the pack, even the Alpha, they'll all have opinions about what happened. About who was wrong, who should be forgiven, what you should feel. Ignore them. Your hurt is yours. Your healing is yours. How you move forward is yours. Don't let anyone—" Her eyes flick briefly to Rowan. "Tell you how fast that should happen." "Thank you, Mira." After she leaves, Rowan lingers. "She's right, you know. About taking your time. I meant what I said about earning your trust, but that doesn't mean you owe me anything. Not forgiveness, not friendship, not even civility beyond what the charter requires." "What does the charter require?" "Cooperation, communication about your training and well-being, monthly reports for the council evaluations." He leans against the doorframe, careful not to enter my space. "But the charter doesn't require you to like me, or trust me, or ever fully forgive me." "Good, because I don't know if I can do any of those things." "I know." He straightens. "Get some rest. We'll resume training tomorrow afternoon. I want to see if you can replicate the 73-second hold under less stressful conditions." "But Mary." "Yes? You were magnificent today. In the hearing. The way you stood up to them, demanded modifications, took control of your own fate. That took courage. I'm not sure I could have managed." His smile is small but genuine. "The Alpha said he wanted to know if you were worth protecting. You proved you're worth a hell of a lot more than that." He leaves before I can respond. The next weeks blur together into a routine that's both familiar and strange. Training twice daily with Rowan, pushing my transformation limits while he watches from the edge, ready to anchor me if I drift too close to dissolution. Meals taken in my tower, except for occasional dinners with Rowan where we discuss strategy for the upcoming evaluation. Books delivered to my room, texts about celestials, about shifter politics, about the history I need to understand to survive. Kane, I barely see. He keeps his distance, respecting the boundary I drew. Occasionally I glimpse him in corridors, always nodding politely but never approaching. Once, I catch him watching a training session from the observation gallery, his expression unreadable. When our eyes meet, he turns and leaves without a word. It should feel like victory, the powerful Alpha keeping his distance, giving me the space I demanded. Instead, it feels hollow, because the person I wanted space from never actually existed. The Kane I knew was always Rowan wearing borrowed features. The real Kane is a stranger who happens to own this fortress. By the end of the first month, I can hold transformation for 90 seconds consistently. My control has improved dramatically. I can shift and release at will, maintain full consciousness throughout, even perform simple tasks while transformed. The dissolution pull is still there, but I've learned to resist it. The council's evaluator arrives on schedule. Her name is Dr. Helena Voss, a middle-aged wolf shifter with sharp eyes and sharper questions. She puts me through a battery of tests: physical, psychological, magical. Rowan sits in on every session, taking notes, occasionally interjecting when he thinks a question crosses into inappropriate territory. She's made exceptional progress. Dr. Voss concludes after 3 days of evaluation. Control is well beyond what I'd expect for someone with minimal training. No incidents, no loss of consciousness, no danger to others. She looks at me over her glasses, However, Miss Stone, I have concerns about your emotional state. My emotional state is fine. Is it? Because my assessment suggests significant depression, trust issues, and social isolation. You're meeting the technical requirements of the charter, but you're not thriving. You're surviving. Surviving is enough. For now. She closes her notebook. But the council wants to see more than technical competence. They want to see integration, stability, evidence that you can exist in shifter society without becoming a threat to yourself or others. Right now, you're meeting the letter of the agreement but not the spirit. After she leaves, Rowan finds me standing at my window, staring out at mountains I've seen every day for a month but still feel no connection to. She's not wrong, he says quietly. You're isolated. You train, you read, you eat alone. That's not sustainable. What do you suggest? Dinner parties? Making friends with people who fear me? I suggest you stop punishing yourself for being hurt. He moves closer, though still maintaining careful distance, a habit he's developed, never entering my space without permission. You're angry at Kane. At me. At the situation. So you're withdrawing, making yourself smaller, limiting your world to just training and solitude. But Mary, that's not protecting yourself. That's disappearing slowly instead of all at once. Maybe disappearing is easier. Maybe. He's quiet for a moment. Can I show you something? What? Trust me. Just for an hour. If you hate it, we'll come back, and you never have to leave this tower again except for training. I study his face, the earnest eyes, the careful hope, the lack of calculation. Whatever he wants to show me, it's not a trap. Or if it is, it's not a malicious one. Fine, 1 hour. He leads me down through the fortress, past the inhabited levels, down stone stairs I haven't explored before. We emerge into what looks like a library, not the small collection in my tower, but a massive space filled with thousands of books, scrolls, artifacts. Moonlight streams through high windows, casting everything in silver. This was built by the fortress's original occupants, Rowan explains. Whoever they were, they collected knowledge obsessively. There are texts here that don't exist anywhere else in the Confederation, including, he walks to a specific shelf, pulls down a slim volume bound in midnight blue. This. I take the book. The title is in a language I don't recognize, but when I open it, the words shift and resolve into something readable. Memories of the Luminous, a Celestial's Journey. It's a diary, Rowan says. From a Celestial who lived 300 years ago, one of the last, before the final purge. She writes about what it felt like to be different, to have power that terrified people, to love someone who couldn't fully understand her. I thought. He hesitates. I thought you might want to read it, to know you're not the first person to feel this way. I flip through pages, catching fragments of text. They look at me and see light, but they can't see me. Transformation feels like drowning in color. He says he loves me, but he's afraid of what I am. The words hit too close, too accurate. Thank you, I whisper. There are others, dozens of accounts, histories, records. This library has more information about Celestials than anywhere else in the Confederation. It's yours, if you want it. A space that's just yours, where you can learn about what you are without anyone watching or judging. I look around the space, the endless shelves, the comfortable chairs, the sense of history pressing in from all sides. A sanctuary, a connection to others like me, even if they're centuries dead. Why show me this now? Because isolation is killing you, Rowan says bluntly. Not physically, but slowly erasing everything that makes you you. I can't force you to trust me, or like me, or forgive what happened, but I can give you this, a place where you can be alone without being lonely, where you can connect with others who understood what you're going through, even if they're just words on pages. Tears sting my eyes. I blink them back fiercely, refusing to let him see how much this gesture affects me. This doesn't fix anything. I know, but maybe it helps, even just a little. I spend the next 3 hours reading. Rowan settles in a chair across the room, giving me space but staying close enough that I'm not entirely alone. He reads his own book, occasionally glancing up to check on me, but never intruding. By the time we return to my tower, something has shifted. Not forgiveness, I'm not ready for that, but the beginning of acceptance. Rowan isn't Kane, didn't make the choice to use a proxy. He was just the tool. And he's trying, in his own flawed way, to make amends. It's not enough. But it's something. The months pass. Winter settles over the western highlands, snow blanketing the mountains in white. I spend my days training and my nights in the library, reading accounts of celestials who came before me. Their struggles, their triumphs, their eventual extinction. I learned that celestials weren't just shifters, they were bridges between realms, capable of seeing and moving through spaces that wolves couldn't access. They served as advisors because their perspective was literally different, able to perceive solutions others missed. I also learned that most celestials died alone. Their inability to reproduce with wolves meant they couldn't form traditional family bonds. Their power made them objects of fear and fascination, but rarely genuine connection. Many chose dissolution, rather than face centuries of isolation. The knowledge should be depressing. Instead, it's oddly comforting. I'm not the first to feel this way. I won't be the last. If other dormant bloodlines wake, Rowan and I develop a careful friendship. Not the heated, almost romance that built during our first days when I thought he was Cain. Something quieter, steadier, built on honesty and shared purpose rather than chemistry and proximity. He tells me stories about his life as Beta, the responsibilities, the pressures, the knowledge that he's always second, always expendable, compared to the Alpha. I tell him about growing up wolfless, about my sister, about the shame that defined my life before transformation. We find common ground in our mutual understanding of being overlooked. Him as the Beta who does the work while the Alpha gets the glory. Me as the deficient Omega who was never supposed to amount to anything. We're both people who slipped through the cracks of what we were supposed to be. By month 6, the evaluations have become routine. Dr. Voss arrives, runs her tests, notes my continued improvement and slowly decreasing isolation. She still has concerns about my emotional state, but they're shrinking. I'm reading more, training harder, even attending occasional pack functions when Rowan insists I need to be seen. Cain, I encounter more frequently now that I've emerged from my tower more often. We exchange polite nods, brief conversations about pack business. Nothing personal. He keeps his promise, no proxies, no games, just honest distance. Sometimes I catch him watching me with an expression I can't decipher. Regret, maybe. Or assessment. Or something more complicated. I don't ask. Don't want to know. Month 9 brings the first real test of my control. A rogue shifter attacks the western border, some kind of hybrid creature that's not quite wolf, not quite something else. The guards can't contain it. Rowan asks if I'm willing to help, emphasizes that I'm under no obligation, that this isn't part of the charter agreement. I go anyway. The creature is massive, twisted, clearly in pain from whatever created it. It lashes out with claws and teeth, injuring 3 guards before I arrive. When it sees me, something in its eyes shifts recognition, maybe, or hope, like it thinks I might understand what it is to be something that shouldn't exist. I transform, not to fight, but to communicate. My prismatic light envelops the creature, and suddenly I can feel its thoughts. Not words, but emotions, pain, confusion, the desperate desire to return to what it was before someone tried to make it into a weapon. I can't fix what was done to it, but I can give it peace. The dissolution I've spent 9 months learning to resist, I offer it willingly to the creature, not to destroy it, but to release it from a body that's become a prison. The light spreads from me to it, breaking down cellular bonds, transforming matter back into pure energy. It doesn't hurt. The creature's thoughts shift from pain to relief to gratitude, to nothing at all as it dissolves into light that fades into the atmosphere. When I release the transformation, dropping back into my body with force that sends me to my knees, the clearing is empty except for shocked guards and Rowan, who's staring at me with something like awe. "What did you just do?" One of the guards whispers. "Mercy," I say. I gave it mercy. Word spreads. The celestial who can grant peaceful death to those suffering. Who can see into twisted minds and offer release from torment. The pack's fear of me shifts into something more complex, still wary, but tinged with respect, maybe even gratitude. That night, Cain requests a meeting. Not in his study, but in the library neutral ground, my space. He enters hesitantly, clearly uncomfortable being in territory I've claimed as my own. I heard about what you did today, he says. The rogue shifter. That was. He stops, searching for words. Extraordinary. It was the right thing to do. Perhaps. He moves closer, though maintaining careful distance. But it revealed something. An application of celestial power no one anticipated. The ability to grant dissolution to others. Do you understand what that means? That I'm even more dangerous than the council thought? That you're more valuable? His eyes meet mine. Mercy killing for suffering creatures is something our healers can't provide. They can only let nature take its course. But you can end suffering instantly, peacefully. That's a gift, Mary. One the council will want to control. Then they'll be disappointed. I don't use my abilities on command. I know. But they'll try anyway. He's quiet for a moment. I also wanted to tell you you've exceeded every requirement of the charter. Dr. Voss's latest report was glowing. At this rate, the council will have no justification for denying you full autonomy when the year ends. 3 more months, I say. And then, I'm free. Yes. Something flickers in his expression, loss, maybe, or regret. And then you'll have choices. Where to live, who to serve, if anyone, what to do with your abilities. All yours. That's what I wanted. Freedom. I know. He turns to leave, then pauses. Mary, I'm aware our relationship is complicated. That I destroyed any chance of genuine trust between us. But I want you to know, watching you grow into your power this year, seeing you become who you were always meant to be, has been a privilege. Whatever you decide when the charter expires, I'm grateful I got to witness it. He leaves before I can respond. I sit alone in the library, surrounded by books written by celestials who died centuries ago, and wonder why his words make my chest ache. I should be celebrating. In 3 months, I'll be free. No charter, no supervision, no obligations. I can go anywhere, do anything, be anyone. So why does the thought of leaving feel like losing something I didn't know I valued? Rowan finds me an hour later, still sitting in the same chair, staring at nothing. The Alpha told you, he guesses, settling into his usual seat across from me. Yes. How do you feel? I don't know. Relieved, terrified, confused. I finally look at him. I spent 9 months waiting for this, counting down to freedom. But now that it's close, I can't figure out what I actually want. What are your options? Leave. Stay. Go to another territory. Serve a different Alpha. Try to build something new somewhere else. I pull my knees to my chest. Or just disappear. Find some quiet place where no one knows what I am, and live out my life in peace. Is that what you want? Peace and obscurity? I don't know what I want. The admission comes out rough, frustrated. A year ago, I wanted to not be worthless. 6 months ago, I wanted to not be alone. Now I have value. I have people who care about my well-being. I have abilities I'm learning to control. I should be happy. Why aren't I happy? Because freedom without purpose is just a prettier cage. Rowan says quietly. You've spent your whole life being defined by what you lack, no wolf, no mate, no place in pack society. Then you transformed and became defined by what others fear about you. But Mary, who are you? What do you actually want, independent of what others need, or fear, or expect? The question hangs in the air, unanswerable. I don't know who I am beyond the categories others have used to define me. Wolfless, celestial, threat, asset, responsibility. I've spent so long reacting to what others make of me, that I've never stopped to figure out what I make of myself. I have 3 months to figure it out, I say finally, and I'll help however I can. He stands, offers his hand. Come on, it's late, you need rest. I take his hand, a gesture that's become familiar over the months, no longer charged with complication, just companionship, support, the quiet trust that builds through consistency rather than grand declarations. As we walk back to my tower, passing through corridors I've learned to navigate without fear, I realize something. This fortress feels more like home than anywhere I've ever lived. These people, Mira with her sharp wisdom, Rowan with his steady presence, Even Kane with his careful distance mattered to me in ways I didn't expect. But in 3 months, the charter expires, and I'll have to choose what comes next. Freedom, purpose, home, connection. Can I have all of them? Or do I have to sacrifice some for others? The question keeps me awake long into the night, watching snow fall over the mountains, counting down the days until I have to answer. Please don't forget to subscribe. Chapter 8. The Wedding That Changed Everything. The invitation arrives 2 weeks before my charter expires. Formal parchment, sealed with the Eastern Territory crest. Alpha Cross cordially invites the residents of Shadow Peak Fortress to attend her bonding ceremony to Alpha Dominic Hale. The union will strengthen ties between Eastern and Southern territories, create a powerful alliance, and this part unspoken but clear consolidate power against the Western Highlands. Rowan brings it to me in the library, his expression troubled. This is political theater. Cross wants witnesses to her victory. Victory over what? Over Kane. Over anyone who opposed her containment agenda. He sets the invitation on the table. If the 2 most powerful alphas in the Confederation are bonded, they control the council. Thornfield can't stand against both of them alone. And once your charter expires, you'll lose Western Highland protection. They'll move against you the moment you're vulnerable. So I don't attend. Not attending is an insult. It gives them justification to declare us hostile. He sits heavily in the chair across from me. We're trapped. We have to go. Smile politely, and watch them consolidate power that will be used against us. Does Kane know? He's the one who told me to show you. He's deciding whether to accept the invitation or risk the political fallout of refusing. I study the invitation, expensive paper, elegant calligraphy, the date circled in gold. 2 weeks. In 2 weeks, Cross marries Hale, and the balance of power in the Confederation shifts permanently. We should go, I say. Rowan looks at me like I've suggested walking into fire. Mary, it's a trap. They'll use the ceremony to humiliate us, to demonstrate their superiority. Then we'll demonstrate ours. I stand, pacing the length of the library. Everyone expects us to refuse, to hide in the Western Highlands like cowards. But what if we attend? What if we show them I'm not afraid? That the charter ending doesn't make me weak, that I'm integrated, stable, exactly what the council claimed to want? That's dangerous. Everything is dangerous. At least this way we control the narrative. I turn to face him. Talk to Kane. Tell him I think we should accept. And Rowan. I pause. Tell him I want to go. Not just as a political statement. I want to see this for myself. The conversation with Kane happens that evening. He summons both me and Rowan to his study, the first time I've been in this space since that first night when I thought I was talking to him but was really talking to Rowan wearing his face. The real Kane sits behind his desk, documents spread in front of him. 9 months of careful distance, and I still can't read him. He has Rowan's features but sharper, colder, carrying authority in a way Rowan never quite managed even when pretending. You want to attend the bonding ceremony, Kane says without preamble. Why? Because refusing looks like fear. Attending looks like confidence. Or suicide. But there's consideration in his eyes. Cross and Hale will use the ceremony to demonstrate their power. Every alpha, every major pack leader will be there. If they choose to move against you publicly, they won't. I settle into the chair across from him, matching his formal posture. I've met every requirement of the charter. Dr. Voss's reports are flawless. They have no justification for containment. Moving against me at their own bonding ceremony would be petty, vindictive, and politically costly. Since when have those things stopped, Cross? Since she cares more about appearing magnanimous than actually being it. I lean forward. She wants to be seen as reasonable. Fair. The alpha who gave me a chance and watched me succeed. Attacking me now undermines that narrative. She'll posture, maybe issue veiled threats, but she won't act. Not publicly. Kane studies me for a long moment. You've learned to think politically. I've had good teachers. I glance at Rowan, who's standing near the door, carefully neutral. And 9 months to watch how this works. All right. Kane makes a note on one of his documents. We'll accept. Full delegation, you, me, Rowan, key staff members. We'll present a unified front. But Mary, his eyes lock onto mine. If something goes wrong, if they do move against you, I'll protect you. Charter or no charter, that hasn't changed. Why? The question slips out before I can stop it. In 2 weeks, I'm no longer your responsibility. Why keep protecting me? His expression shifts something raw, flickering beneath the political mask. Because 9 months ago, I made a choice that hurt you. That destroyed trust before it could fully form. I can't undo that, but I can make sure you survive long enough to build whatever life you want, without me in it, if that's what you choose. The words hang between us, weighted with everything we haven't said. 9 months of careful distance. 9 months of watching each other from opposite sides of an impossible divide. 9 months of wondering what might have been if he'd just been honest from the beginning. Thank you, I say quietly. The 2 weeks pass in a blur of preparation. Mira oversees my wardrobe, a dress that's both elegant and practical, able to transform with me if necessary. Rowan drills me on diplomatic protocols, proper forms of address, how to navigate political conversations without giving offense or appearing weak. Even Petra stops by to ensure I'm physically prepared for the stress of the event. The night before we leave, I find myself in the library, reading the diary of that long-dead Celestial one more time. Her final entry was written days before her death. They ask me why I don't just dissolve. Why I cling to physical form when the light calls so sweetly. I tell them, because someone should remember what we were. Someone should bear witness that we existed, that we mattered, that we were more than the fear others felt when they looked at us. I will stay until I can't anymore. And then, I'll trust that someday, someone like me will read these words and know they're not alone. I press my hand against the page, feeling the weight of history, of all the Celestials who came before and fought to exist in a world that wanted them gone. You're not alone anymore, I whisper to the empty library. I'm here. I remember. A knock at the door interrupts my vigil. Rowan enters, carrying 2 glasses of wine. Thought you might want company the night before the battle, he says, offering me a glass. It's not a battle. It's a wedding. In politics, they're often the same thing. He settles into his usual chair, the routine so familiar now it feels like muscle memory. Are you nervous? Terrified, excited, ready for it to be over. I take a sip of wine, rich and warm, probably from Kane's private collection. Rowan, when the charter expires, when I'm free to choose where I go, what I do, will you be relieved? Relieved? He looks genuinely surprised. Why would I be relieved? Because you'll be free too. Free from the obligation of watching over me. Free to focus on beta duties without a Celestial complicating everything. Mary. He sets down his glass, leans forward with an intensity I haven't seen in months. These 9 months have been the most meaningful of my life. Getting to know you, the real you. Not just the political problem or the powerful Celestial, but the person who reads ancient diaries and cries over strangers' pain, who gives mercy to suffering creatures, who fights to stay human even when dissolution would be easier. That's been a privilege, not an obligation. You're contractually required to say that. The contract ends in 2 weeks. I'm saying it because it's true. He holds my gaze. When you leave, if you leave, I'll miss you. Not as a responsibility. As a friend. As someone who matters. The sincerity in his voice makes my throat tight. I'll miss you too. Even though you started as a lie, you became one of the most honest people I know. Started as a lie, ended as whatever this is. His smile is bittersweet. For what it's worth, I hope you stay. Not because of the charter, not because of politics, because Shadow Peak is better with you in it. I'm better with you in it. That's not fair. Don't make me want to stay when leaving might be smarter. Why would leaving be smarter? Because staying means constant reminders of what could have been. Every time I see Kane, I remember that first week, when I thought, I stop. It doesn't matter what I thought. It was based on a lie. Not entirely. Rowan's voice is careful. The connection you felt that was real. You just directed it at the wrong person. The feelings weren't fabricated. They were just misplaced. You're saying I should forgive him. I'm saying you should consider what you actually want versus what pride tells you to want. He finishes his wine. But that's a decision for after the wedding. For tonight, let's just drink and pretend tomorrow isn't going to be the most politically fraught event of the decade. We spend the rest of the evening talking about nothing important books we've read. Theories about the fortress's original builders. Speculation about whether other celestials might wake soon. It's comfortable. Safe. The kind of friendship I didn't know I needed until I had it. When Rowan finally leaves, pressing a kiss to my forehead that's purely platonic but still warm, I realize something. If I leave the Western Highlands, I don't just lose proximity to Kane. I lose this. The library. The routine. The quiet companionship that's built over months of shared purpose. Maybe freedom isn't about running from what hurt you. Maybe it's about choosing what's worth staying for. The journey to the Eastern Territory takes all day. We travel in a formal procession, 3 coaches, guards in dress uniforms, banners displaying Western Highland colors, a show of strength, a reminder that we're not defeated, just outnumbered. I ride with Kane and Rowan, the 3 of us dressed in our finest. Kane in alpha regalia, all dark elegance and barely contained power. Rowan in beta colors, standing tall despite being in his leader's shadow, and me in midnight blue that makes my prismatic eyes almost glow. My hair arranged in elaborate braids woven with silver, I look like a celestial. Finally, after 9 months, I look like what I am. Remember, Kane says as we approach the Eastern capital, we're here to observe, to witness, not to engage in political maneuvering unless absolutely necessary. Let them have their ceremony. We'll smile, offer congratulations, and leave without incident. And if they provoke us? I ask. Then we respond proportionally. But Mary, don't let them goad you into demonstrating. Don't give them an excuse to claim you're unstable. The ceremony is held in the Eastern Hall of Unity, a massive structure built specifically for diplomatic functions. The space is filled with shifters from every major pack, all dressed in their finest, all watching as we enter. Whispers follow us like smoke. The Celestial. She's with the Western Alpha. I heard she can kill with just light. Beautiful and terrifying. We're shown to seats near the front, a position of honor that's also strategic placement, where everyone can see us, watch us, judge us. Thornfield is already seated nearby, his golden eyes sharp as they track our arrival. He nods slightly, acknowledgement, maybe support, hard to tell. The ceremony itself is elaborate. Cross enters in Eastern colors, her auburn hair crowned with gold, looking every inch the powerful alpha she is. Hale awaits her at the altar, broad and golden and smiling like he's won something. Maybe he has. The bonding vows are traditional pledges of loyalty, promises of shared territory, declarations of unified purpose. When they seal the bond with a kiss, the crowd erupts in applause. A new alliance, a new power structure. The Confederation restructured around their partnership. The reception that follows is held in an adjoining ballroom. Music, dancing, elaborate food displays. Political maneuvering dressed up as celebration. Kane, Rowan, and I stay together, presenting unified front, accepting congratulations from those brave enough to approach. Cross finds us halfway through the evening. She's radiant, clearly thrilled with how everything has unfolded. Alpha Kane, Beta Rowan, Miss Stone. She inclines her head to each of us. Thank you for attending. I know it was complicated. We wouldn't miss it, Kane says smoothly. Congratulations on your bonding. May it bring strength to both your territories. I'm certain it will. Her eyes fix on me. Miss Stone, your charter expires in 12 days. Have you given thought to what comes next? I have options, I say carefully. I hope one of those options is remaining in the Confederation. We need Celestials, especially ones with your level of control. She leans closer, voice dropping. There will always be a place for you in the Eastern Territory. If you choose to leave the Western Highlands, I'll consider it, I say, because refusing outright would be an insult. She drifts away to greet other guests, leaving us in tense silence. She's recruiting you, Rowan mutters, already planning how to use you once you're free of the charter. Let her plan. I haven't decided anything yet. The evening wears on. I dance with Rowan once, a formal number that gets us both away from increasingly invasive questions. I decline invitations from other alphas, not wanting to create political complications. I sip wine and smile and pretend I'm not counting minutes until we can leave. That's when the attack happens. The first sign is a guard falling near the main entrance, blood spreading across marble. Then screams. Then chaos as armed figures flood into the ballroom, not shifters, but humans wearing strange symbols, carrying weapons that glow with unnatural light. Purist extremists, Thornfield shouts over the panic. Anti-shifter militants. They must have gotten past the wards somehow. Kane is moving immediately, shouting orders, directing guards to evacuate civilians. Hale shifts into wolf form, massive and golden, charging the attackers. Cross begins casting some kind of shield spell, trying to protect those nearest her. And one of the militants, a man with wild eyes and a weapon that crackles with energy, aims directly at the newlywed alphas. Time slows. I see the weapon discharge, see the bolt of unnatural light arc toward Cross and Hale, moving too fast for them to dodge. See the devastation it will cause. 2 alphas dead on their bonding day. The Confederation thrown into chaos. War inevitable. I don't think. I just move. Transformation comes instantly, faster than it ever has before. Light explodes from my body as I throw myself between the weapon and its targets. The bolt hits my prismatic shield, and I feel it foreign energy, twisted magic, designed to kill shifters specifically. I absorb it, pull it into my own light and neutralize it completely. The militant stares at me, terrified. What are you? Mercy, I say, my voice layered with harmonics that don't come from a human throat. Then I release a pulse of prismatic energy that sweeps the ballroom, not harmful but overwhelming. The militants drop their weapons, suddenly unable to remember why they're here, what they were fighting for. The hostile energy in the room drains away, replaced by confused disorientation. Guards move in, securing the intruders without resistance. I drop the transformation, stumbling as I return to physical form. Strong arms catch me before I fall. Kane. The real Kane, not Rowan. He's moved across the ballroom with impossible speed, reaching me in the moment I needed catching. His face is close to mine, eyes wide with something that might be fear or awe or both. Are you hurt? He demands. No, I stop. Because something's happening. The careful control I've maintained for 9 months is fracturing. The weapon's energy, I neutralized it, but it's left traces. Corruption in my light, poison spreading through the prismatic spectrum. Mary. Kane's voice is sharp with alarm. Your eyes. They're flickering. I can feel it. Light and shadow warring inside me, the dissolution pull suddenly overwhelming. I used too much power too fast, and now I'm fragmenting, losing cohesion. Get back. I try to push away from Kane, terrified I'll dissolve and take him with me. I can't hold, but he doesn't let go. Instead, he pulls me closer, one hand cupping the back of my neck, his forehead pressing against mine. And something impossible happens. Shadows pour from his body, not the absence of light but their own substance, cool and solid and grounding. They wrap around my fragmenting light, not smothering it but containing it, giving it structure, boundary, shape. I've got you, he whispers, and his voice is the voice I remember from that first week. Warm, present, real. You're not alone. Hold on to me. Use my shadows as your anchor. I do. I pour my fragmenting light into the structure he's providing, letting his darkness give my brightness shape. Light and shadow, celestial and whatever Kane is, 2 impossible bloodlines working together in a way no one expected. Slowly, painfully, I cohere. Return to my body, become solid and singular again. The ballroom has gone completely silent. Every person present is staring at us, at Kane's shadows still wrapped around my light, at the unprecedented display of cooperation between powers that shouldn't be compatible. Cross finds her voice first. What was that? That, Thornfield says slowly, was 2 restricted bloodlines stabilizing each other, which should be impossible. Nothing about tonight has been possible. Hale growls. He shifted back to human form, bleeding from multiple wounds but alive. She saved us. The Celestial saved us. Why? All eyes turn to me. I'm still in Kane's arms, still steadied by his shadows, still trying to process what just happened. When I finally speak, my voice is rough but clear. Because it was right. Because you're about to be married, we're just married. Because no one deserves to die on what should be the happiest day of their lives, regardless of political differences. You could have let us die, Cross says quietly. It would have solved your problems. Without us, the council would lose its strongest voices for containment. I'm not you, I say. I don't sacrifice people for political convenience. The rebuke lands. Cross actually flinches. Cain helps me stand, though his shadows remain loosely connected to my light, a tether neither of us seems willing to fully release. He turns to address the crowd, his voice carrying the weight of alpha authority. Let me be clear about what just happened. Miss Stone, whose charter expires in 12 days, just saved the lives of 2 alphas who have argued for her containment. She did this without hesitation, without calculation, purely because it was right. And in doing so, she demonstrated perfect control under the most extreme circumstances possible. She also demonstrated a new ability, Thornfield adds, the capacity to neutralize hostile magic, which changes everything we thought we knew about celestial capabilities. It also proves, Cain continues, his eyes still on me, that she's not a threat, she's an asset. More than that, she's someone capable of making moral choices under pressure, someone who values life over advantage, someone worthy of full autonomy and respect. Hale limps forward, his wounds already healing. You saved my life. Why? I meet his golden eyes steadily. Because I've spent 9 months learning that power without purpose is just destruction. My purpose isn't to destroy, it's to protect. Even people who want me contained. Then you're a better person than I am, he admits. I would have let us die in your position. I know. That's the difference between us. Cross approaches slowly, and I see genuine respect in her expression for the first time. Miss Stone, Mary, I owe you a debt. Both Alpha Hale and I do. A life debt, according to the old laws. I don't want payment. Nevertheless, you have it. She glances at Cain. And I'm formally withdrawing my opposition to granting you full autonomy. After tonight, no one can question your stability or control. When your charter expires, you'll have complete freedom, with my support. Mine as well, Hale says grudgingly. Though I still think you're dangerous. Just dangerous, in ways we need apparently. Thornfield rises from his seat. Then the council is unanimous. 12 days from now, Mary Stone will be granted full autonomy. No containment, no supervision, complete freedom to choose her own path. The crowd murmurs, shifting from shock to acceptance, to something that might be relief. The Celestial isn't a threat. The Celestial is a hero. The story changes in real time, but I'm not paying attention to them. I'm looking at Cain, at the shadows still wrapped around my light, at the impossible connection that stabilized me when I should have dissolved. You're not just a wolf, I whisper. You never were. No. His expression is complicated. Relief, fear, acceptance. I'm something else. Shadow Walker, the old texts call it. Another bloodline everyone thought was extinct. I've been hiding it for 5 years, same as you hid your celestial nature. But when you started to fragment, I couldn't. His voice breaks. I couldn't watch you dissolve, not when I could help. Even if it meant revealing what I am. You just exposed yourself. For me, yes. Why? He's quiet for a long moment, shadows and light still flowing between us, the connection intimate in a way that has nothing to do with bodies and everything to do with souls recognizing their complement. Because 9 months ago, I sent Rowan in my place because I was afraid. Afraid you'd hurt me. Afraid I'd hurt you. Afraid of what genuine connection would cost. But watching you from a distance, hearing Rowan's reports, seeing you grow into your power, I realized I made the wrong choice. That some things are worth the risk. That you're worth the risk. I don't even know you, not really. Everything I learned was through Rowan. Then learn me now. His hand moves from my neck to my face, cupping my cheek with a tenderness that makes my breath catch. No proxies, no games, no distance. Just us, whoever we actually are, figuring out if what we both felt through Rowan was real or just wishful thinking. And if it's not real, then at least we'll know. At least we'll have tried. His thumb brushes across my cheekbone. But Mary, I think it's real. I think we're real. I think that's why the shadows and light work together when they shouldn't. Because we're meant to be complementary, not opposite. The ballroom is still watching. This moment is public, witnessed by hundreds. Whatever I say next will define not just our relationship but how the Confederation sees me, sees us. I should be careful. Calculated. Make the smart political choice. Instead, I choose truth. Ask me, I say quietly. The question you've been avoiding for 9 months. The one Rowan almost asked at dinner that last night before the hearing. Ask me properly. Yourself this time. Kane's eyes search mine, understanding dawning. Mary Stone, would you consider staying in the Western Highlands? Not because of the charter, not because you're obligated, because you want to, because you choose to, because you think maybe, possibly, we could build something real together? It's not, will you marry me? We're not there yet, might never be there, but it's the question underneath: will you stay? Will you try? Will you risk being hurt because the alternative is never knowing what could be? I think about the library filled with celestial histories, about Rowan's steady friendship, about Mira's sharp wisdom, and Petra's gentle care, about this fortress that's become more home than anywhere I've lived, about the man standing in front of me, finally honest, finally vulnerable, finally offering himself instead of a proxy. I think about freedom, about what it means to choose your own cage versus being forced into one, about how sometimes the bravest thing isn't running, but staying. Yes, I say. I'll stay. Not forever, don't ask me for forever when we barely know each other. But I'll stay. I'll give this a real chance. I'll see if what we both felt through Rowan can exist between us directly. Relief floods his expression. That's enough. More than enough. He pulls me closer, and I go willingly. The shadows and light between us intensify, wrapping around both our forms, creating something new, not purely light, not purely shadow, but synthesis. A third thing born from two impossibilities, learning to coexist. The crowd erupts in applause, but I barely hear it. I'm too focused on Kane's face close to mine, on the way his eyes reflect prismatic light, on the careful hope written in every line of his expression. We're going to be terrible at this, I warn him. I have trust issues. You have fear of betrayal. We're both disasters. Probably, he agrees, but at least we'll be disasters together. And then, witnessed by the most powerful shifters in the Confederation, on the night of a bonding that was supposed to consolidate power against us, Kane kisses me. It's not desperate or consuming. It's careful, tentative. The kiss of two people learning each other for the first time, despite feeling like they've known each other forever. His lips are warm, his shadows cool against my light-warmed skin. The contrast is dizzying. When we finally separate, the applause has died down to murmurs, and reality is reasserting itself. There are still extremists to deal with, wounds to heal, political fallout to manage. But for just this moment, the impossible has happened. The celestial and the shadow walker. Light and dark. Two restricted bloodlines finding stability in each other when everyone said they should be enemies. We break the pattern. We write a new story. And it starts now. Epilogue. 3 months later. I'm in the library when the report arrives. 3 months since the bonding ceremony. 3 months since my charter officially expired and I chose to stay anyway. 3 months of learning Kane the way I learned Rowan through shared dinners, training sessions, quiet evenings by the fire. He's different than I expected, more cautious but also more genuine. Less smooth than Rowan's mimicry but more real. We're taking it slow. No grand declarations, no rushing toward bonding ceremonies of our own. Just learning each other, building trust from honest foundation instead of borrowed identity. The report is from Dr. Voss, not a required evaluation anymore, but a courtesy. She's been tracking something across the Confederation and wanted me to know. There are others, I read aloud as Rowan enters the library. He's become a fixture here, our friendship deepening now that obligation is removed. 5 confirmed cases of dormant bloodlines manifesting in the past 3 months. 1 fire elemental, 1 frost walker, 1 dream weaver. 2 more celestials. Others like you, Rowan says, settling into his usual chair. The pattern is spreading, or returning. I set down the report. The world tried to erase us. But you can't erase something that's written into the fabric of reality. We were always here, just sleeping, waiting for the right moment to wake. And now you're all waking up. Why now? Maybe because the wolf bloodlines are weakening. Maybe because the universe corrects itself. Maybe because I transformed first, and somehow that triggered others. I stand, moving to the window where I can see the mountains, the valley, the territory I've chosen to call home. Or maybe because the world needs us again. For what? I don't know yet, but I'm going to find out. I turn back to face him. The other celestials, they'll need guidance, training, someone who understands what they're going through. I want to find them, bring them here if they'll come, build something, a sanctuary, maybe, or a school, or just a place where people like us can exist without fear. Cain will support that, Rowan says. He's been talking about it too, expanding the fortress, creating space for other restricted bloodlines, turning the Western Highlands into a haven. Good. I smile, feeling purpose settle into my bones. This is what I've been missing. Not freedom from obligation, but freedom to choose meaningful obligation, to build something that matters. Then let's start. The celestials who came before me left libraries and diaries because they had no one to teach. I won't make that mistake. The ones waking up now will have guidance, community, a chance to become what they're meant to be without fighting alone. Footsteps in the corridor announce Cain's arrival before he appears in the doorway. 3 months. And my heart still does this thing when I see him, a skip, a catch, recognition of something that matters. You heard, he says, taking in the report on the table. 5 others. And those are just the confirmed cases. I cross to him, and he pulls me close automatically, shadows wrapping loosely around my light in the habitual gesture that's become our unique intimacy. We need to find them, help them, before the council does. I know. Thornfield sent a message. He's identified 3 in his territory, wants to coordinate. Cross surprisingly offered to share information about the ones in the east. His expression turns wry. Saving her life apparently created genuine debt. Who knew? Maybe people are more complicated than we give them credit for. Maybe. He presses a kiss to my forehead. Are you ready for this? Building something new? Taking on responsibility for others like you? It won't be easy. Nothing worthwhile is. I tilt my head back to meet his eyes. But I'm not alone. I have you, Rowan. This fortress, this territory, this chance to do something meaningful with power that scared me for so long. I'm ready. Then let's begin. Later, standing on the tower balcony with Cain beside me and Rowan somewhere below organizing logistics, I watch the sun set over mountains that no longer feel foreign. This is home now, not because I was forced to stay, but because I chose to. Because sometimes freedom isn't about having no obligations, it's about choosing which obligations matter. I'm Mary Stone, celestial, advisor, friend, almost lover to a shadow walker who's learning to trust again. And I'm about to become teacher to others like me, guide to those waking into power they don't understand. The story they told about celestials was that we were dangerous, unstable, extinct. They were wrong on all counts. We're dangerous only to those who fear difference. We're stable when given genuine support. And we're not extinct, we're returning. And this time, we're not alone. This time, we're building something that lasts. This time, we win.